The bar recognizes the fact that the power of removal can be exercised under Article 146. But the bar's major concern relates to the process. In the absence of specific rules of procedure, the sketchy process potentially lends itself to arbitrariness and a lack of fairness. Hence, the bar's resolution on the matter, which was as follows. The Ghana Bar Association hereby also calls for the immediate enactment of clear and comprehensive regulations relating to matters under Article 146 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness in all proceedings involving Superior Court justice, particularly in the context of the impeachment or removal of such officers. This resolution was passed and publicized by 30th April 2025. However, no rules were produced. It is commonly said that justice should not only be done, but manifestly be seen to have been done. The lack of an enactment for such rules in the case of the removal of the fourth highest person in the nation should be a matter of concern for all of us. These rules should have been known to all and sundry before the commencement of the process, as it greatly affects the standard to be met. It ends up being an unfortunate precedent which lacks fairness, a situation that calls for redress, if indeed we are custodians of justice. We all deserve justice, from the well-endowed in society to the less endowed, from those who wield political power to those who don't, from those who have economic power and those who don't, from those who dispense justice to those who receive justice. We all deserve justice. The effects of another resolution passed at our mid-year conference on the assignment of cases electronically is also yet to be experienced as resolved. Now to talk about free speech and political insults. One cannot deny that the discourse in public life.
Well, that's the president of the Ghana Bar Association there, clearly indicating and reiterating the position of the bar again on the removal of the former Chief Justice. This matter took another turn earlier in the week as the former Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Eraba Esaba Torkornoo, has gone to court to challenge her removal as a justice of the Supreme Court. Not as a Chief Justice, but as a justice of the Supreme Court. The reason being, the president's warrant of removal affects the two, or affected the two. The judicial application review at the High Court, Justice Torkornoo is contending that her removal as a justice of the Supreme Court was unlawful, as a recommendation for her removal was in respect of her office as the Chief Justice, which followed a procedure completely different from that of the removal of a justice of the Supreme Court. That's what the position is. In fact, the former Chief Justice is seeking an order of certiorari, which we'll get into, to quash the warrant that the president issued for her removal as a justice of the Supreme Court on September 1, 2025, on the basis that it was in violation of the constitutional provisions for the removal of the justice of a superior court of the Republic of Ghana, and therefore unlawful. So we'll get into this matter. Those who have referenced a number of previous cases that sought to put this matter to rest. Those who support this position, indicating that it must be left to the courts to decide whether or not she has a case. Well, we will get into this here on Key Point. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, took aim at the Ghana Bar Association, and in fact, he was strongly of the view that the body has abandoned the neutrality and it actually drifting into partisan advocacy. He was addressing the Ghana Bar Association's annual conference that you heard the president, Madame Efogate, also respond to the Attorney General. Does the Attorney General have a basis for this particular position it has taken or it took against the bar? Does precedents, actions, pronouncements, and decisions of the leadership of the bar lend credence to the Attorney General's position or otherwise? This is a conversation we'll have this morning here on Key Point, so stay with us. We're staying the steam on Galamsey because we continue to see the price that we're having to pay as a result of the pollution of water bodies and the destruction dealt to forest reserves in this country. We've seen a number of actions taken by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. But the fundamental question is, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, the coalition of NGOs against Galamsey in this country, many other well-meaning persons are calling on the president to declare a state of emergency. The president continues to reference a number of measures that have been put in place actively ongoing to fight Galamsey. What you are seeing right now on the screen is a Galamsey site. Exactly just 4 days ago, it was on Wednesday, that the minister in charge of lands and natural resources, together with the task force, and then also in the eastern region, we saw this around the Chebi and the Buakwa areas. The MCE for the area has put up his own task force moving around to clamp down on Galamsey operators. This was just Wednesday. This is a forest reserve. So, are these measures working? Is it enough justification for the president's reluctance to not declare a state of emergency? We'll have a conversation this morning. Stay with us. This is Key Point. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on YouTube. We're live on 3 News as well on YouTube. And we're live on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London, the Voice of London television as well. There's so many ways you can connect with us here on Key Point. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. My guest will join me and we'll start the conversation after this quick break. Stay with us.
I've been reluctant to implement a state of emergency in the Galamsey fight because we've not exhausted the powers we even have without a state of emergency. We have the opportunity to arrest anybody, to confiscate any such thing. There are laws for forest protection and all that give us enough powers to be able to act. Implementing a state of emergency might sound nice, but it should be the last extreme, the last resort. So for now, let's exercise all the powers we have. And if it becomes necessary for a state of emergency, then we'll look at it. It means we have to go to Parliament. The President can't just declare a state of emergency without, going to Parliament, because there's a limit to how long you can maintain that state of emergency. And so I believe that we still have leverage to continue to fight Galamsey without necessarily implementing a state of emergency. It means that we have to delineate the areas where the state of emergency is operational. And if you look at the area where Galamsey is taking place, it covers several districts of our country. And so we would do it if it becomes necessary. But for now, I think that we've given the security services enough powers to be able to deal with people who are found to be involved in Galamsey.
This was the president explaining his reluctance, and the reason why he says he's reluctant to declare a state of emergency. Well, the Catholic Bishops' Conference this week issued a press statement calling on the president to declare a state of emergency, because for them, this explanation given by the president does not tick the box. Also, the coalition of NGOs against Galamsey as well came through. We have the coalition against Galamsey as well, led by Engineer Dr. Kenasibe, who's going to be joining us on Zoom shortly, also made their position quite clear. And a number of people, right from the last at least 2 weeks, this conversation about a state, the calls for a state of emergency has intensified. Welcome to Poll Tracker. This is a segment on the show where we deal with data-driven conversations, one that necessarily does not to dwell on emotions and the politics of things. We're going to show you exactly why, whether or not this call for the state of emergency is justified, or the declaration of a state of emergency is justified. And then also the president's position that, look, we have enough powers to deal with this matter. State of emergency is on the table, yes, but it should be the last resort. Are the measures that have been put in place working to fight Galamsey? And what we are confronted with now, we'll get into it this morning. All of this put together by our research desk, Wisdom Safo and the rest of the team putting this together. And follow me closely. From Article 31.9 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, we're going to be joined by lawyers. So we'll get into the legal side of things, the environmental side of things, and the social impact of Galamsey. These are the three areas which are prime and important to this conversation. These are the conditions under which a state of emergency can be declared, as enshrined in our Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. You take a look at this. We'll put it on the screen. War, invasion, natural disaster. Take that in mind. Natural disaster, internal instability, or any action that deprives the community of essentials of life. So, for the many who are looking at this, they're looking at Galamsey qualifying for this fourth condition, or the declaration of a state of emergency. Any action that deprives a community of essentials of life. Can that tick the box? And should that be the reason for the consideration for the declaration of a state of emergency? Well, guess what? There's been past instances that a state of emergency has been declared, and we picked quite a few of them. Right from 1957, this ethnic political violence, the attempted bombing, Accra Tema, of the late Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, whom we'll be celebrating his birthday. This strikes and economic crisis we experienced between 1978 and 1979. You recall in 83, this de facto mass deportations and the bushfires that the country experienced in that year. The late Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings declared a state of emergency. Then in 1994, this Kokomba, Dagomba, Nanumba conflict in the northern region affected 7 districts specifically, this state of emergency. That's fresh on the minds of many. We don't intend to get into the history and the deaths. Between 2002 and 2004, the murder of the late Yana, plus 40 others. The former president, John Ejekun Kufuor, within that period, also declared a state of emergency. There's been 6 that we counted for the purposes of this conversation. 4 has been as a result of internal tensions, and 2 as a result of economic hardship. We haven't had any declared as a result of any environmental matters or Galamsey or anything else. What we saw by the previous administration, led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was the ban, the total ban on all forms of small-scale mining for almost 2 years. We saw the benefits of it. Some water bodies that were polluted, we saw some level of cleanliness of those water bodies. The sustainability of those gains was what was the issue, because we lost it. And all those gains went down the drain. Is that another route to consider instead of a state of emergency? Because in the end, all these two, a ban and a state of emergency, would have one result. But these are the affected regions we're talking about, the heat map of Galamsey. And we've represented the critical areas or the critical regions with some colors that you can identify. But let me take you to the Ankobra River. Earlier in the week, this Ankobra River has been polluted by illegal miners. The minister in charge of lands and natural resources, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofiboa, had to go there together with the NIMOS task force himself to go and see what's happening on the Ankobra River. Some operators, Galamsey operators, were arrested. Others had to flee the area even before they got in because they had intel. But this is what the minister said. Take a look at this.
A major reverse is that we are coming after you. And we are not coming on a day visit and leaving. We are going to be here. There is no law in Ghana that allows anybody to mine or discharge water in any of the water bodies. So anybody that is seen engaged in this activity is a fair target. And we are warning you, stop it. Because the damage that this is causing our country cannot be paid. If this is not war, then I don't see anything. We need to mobilize all the forces we have. We need to put all the resources we have to deal with this crisis of our time. And it's very, very clear. The president's heart is in the right place when he directed that we need to deploy permanently the military and the security forces along our river bodies and the forest reserve. And that is what we are going to work with the Ministry of Finance and key sectors to deal with this issue.
Well, so the minister came face to face with what is happening on the Ankobra River. Well, that's not the only thing that happened. As a result of what we're seeing because of this illegal mining and matters arising. On the same Ankobra River and its environs, where Galamsey is taking place seriously. And now they're considering the establishment of a permanent military base there. Will that also help in dealing with this matter? They uncovered something else. And this time, the Western Naval Command and the Western Regional National Security, they came together to clamp down on the illegal mining around the Ankobra area. And they found, fetish priests who was aiding these illegal miners do their work. Because there's also the spiritual side of things, as we have heard. And the fetish priest, he ran away before they got there. You take a look at this.
This room is for the Malam. Malam Jujuma, you have escaped. You are supposed to wait and meet us. You don't have anything, you have only God. And you are running away. Next time I want to see him with the Juju or we will burn you in the Juju or.
The Togbe Nana Benin Shrine is believed to offer protection to the illegal miners. In a room allegedly used for purification rituals, we find this list prescribing ritual items for a client. It includes a sheep, a goat, 6 priests, and a cash of 300 cedis. Near the shrine, 2 sheep and a chicken are tethered, presumably awaiting sacrifice.
So this is where they consult the gods before they operate. Yes, that's the Mamota shrine. Yes, so when they do this, it means they'll get more gold and they'll destroy the water. And in fact, we will not forgive them. We will destroy everything. Wherever that gods is, we are ready to meet the gods. If we encounter a lot, sometimes you go and see white sheep, some white fowls, and other things, but we don't give up. We still have to kill them and move forward.
So that's what they found. Soft drinks and chicken, sheep for this fetish priest who was giving protection to these illegal miners. And beyond that, there's been different operations across the country. We saw one in the week, during the week as well. We had the Pra, Birim, Bonsa areas as well, where Galamsey is taking place. There was another operation to clamp down on illegal mining in these areas. We've got a video of that as well. You take a look at this.
I believe 2-3 this year will clear everything, destroy a whole lot of things.
Well, all of this happened this week. So the minister said there's been an intensified approach and the fight against Galamsey. Is that enough to justify the reluctance to declare a state of emergency? Let's go to the eastern region, the Iboakwa area, Chebi. The MCE for the area has also put up his own task force to clamp down on Galamsey. Those are the people you see there. This is active illegal mining that was going on in the eastern region. In fact, it's just telling us, Osino area as well, we monitored one just 2 days ago. Yesterday, we got videos. This is what's happening just at the banks of a forest reserve. The MCE and his task force went in there. This was just 2 days ago. The Galamsey that's taking place in the Iboakwa area, specific areas like Chebi and its environs. Just 2 days ago. They went in there. Before they got there, these illegal miners ran away, left their equipment. They took out the control board from the excavator, left their pumps and the chamfans, which were destroyed by the task force with the help of the military. It's clear that the illegal mining is ongoing. The devastation is happening. Over 44 forest reserves have been lost. We're talking about 5,252 hectares degraded. Pra and Cobra bearing what we showed you, have their turbidity levels going beyond 5,000. In fact, what has led to the closure of the Kwenyako headworks, which has led to over 10 districts not having access to potable water. The turbidity levels of that Ayensu and Densu rivers gone up beyond what is expected. With 3,000 hectares destroyed in Western region alone, the forest district. Cocoa Board, a couple of years ago, indicated the loss of over 4.8 billion cocoa output as a result of mainly Galamsey. The verdict, all of these and what we have seen. The Catholic Bishop Conference says it's a matter of national security. Declare state of emergency. But then the government says the halt is the last resort. The CSO's Catholic Bishop Conference says the halt, in fact, the state of emergency should be the first. And this is what the president has indicated, that measures that have been put in place already to fight Galamsey and the successes that have been chalked. Over 1,000 illegal miners have been arrested. Special courts in the offering to speed up prosecution of illegal miners. 440 excavators impounded. 1,400 plus water pumps destroyed. 300 chamfan machines seized in recent months. 980 security personnel recruited and deployed to protect water bodies and reserves. Are these measures enough? And these successes that are being chalked without a state of emergency enough to justify the president's reluctance to declare a state of emergency? Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's the leader of the Komipreko Reloaded demonstration. We understand there's going to be another peaceful protest tomorrow. Mm-hmm. This is by Oliver Bakavomao and the Fix the Country team on this matter of Galamsey. Martin Pebo is joining us in the studio. Council, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Morning, Mr. Ocansey. It's good to be here once again.
What's the hat? This one? What's the name of this one?
Fedora.
Fedora.
Yeah, this is a Fedora.
Fedora.
Yeah.
Fedora. What's the origin
After
of
the
Fedora?
The movie called Fedora, yeah, in the 1930s. Yeah.
The
Fedora.
1930s.
Yeah. Google it. The movie that gave the hat the name Fedora. Yeah. That's the name of the movie as well.
I see. So the main character was wearing this. You know, you have a different brand every Saturday. So
yes, it's to excite the fans.
Indeed.
Yes, some are asking for something exciting.
A lot of people look forward to the hat you're going to wear on Saturday.
Yes.
Good stuff. It's good to see you. You look good, by the way.
Thank you. You too.
Perfect.
You too. Yes. So as usual, let's do the rituals. I want to, today we started with Mr. Demlevo. Last week, it was refreshing to see how he came in strongly on the Abronye matter.
Yeah.
Because, Mr. Yao Demlevo, former Auditor General, he's board chair of UCO. Yet he didn't say that, because he's board chair, anything goes. Anything that happens, he hasn't seen. See no evil, say no evil. No. True. He went on Facebook and condemned the way Abronye's rights were being abused. And of course, a lot of us took inspiration from him. People jumped on, and then, long story short, eventually the MPP guys went back to court on Monday and got a bail for Abronye. That's good. And also, in that respect, you will see that from Mr. Domlevo's post, he's asking for review of Act 30. You see, yes, he's saying that, look, we can do something so that the laws on bail will be clearer. You see, look, let me just read it briefly. It says, is there any act of parliament or legislative instrument regulating bail conditions and remanding of suspects or accused persons? If no, then I think we need one immediately. If yes, then it may need to be reviewed to eliminate discretion in some situations and minimize it in others. I don't support the use of bail conditions and remand to punish fellow countrymen. So that's Mr. Daniel Yao Demlevo, board chair of ECOWAS. That's in response to the Abronia matter. I'll continue reading this because, as I said, in this series, we want to get citizens who will be objective, not to think about only their stomachs.
Indeed.
Because that's the bane of our democracy. People get in and it's all about chop. They are scared that if they voice anything, they will be removed. No, the president himself has been saying it, that citizens should speak up. Citizens should speak up. That's the one of the ways will help to, foster our democracy. Of course, and in that light, let me mention, last week I mentioned that Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine was going to do us proud by intervening. But at the end of the day, he didn't have to. So Dr. Ayine didn't have to. Yeah, the MPP were able to go. And you see, the Attorney General's office, nobody even turned up. Yes, the system worked. So it is allowed. Now look, once it's the liberty of the citizens, the bail application has been served, it's not there, it's done. Even I'm happy Lawyer Pia Kubi is on today's program. When Kennedy Ajapon's matter happened, was it 2012? Yes, Apia Kubi went to court, ex-party, and the bail was granted. We are not playing with personal liberty, so no, not at all. When you read Sofia Kufu's judgment, the 48 hours is 48 hours. You see how she reiterates the principle that personal liberties are priceless.
Indeed.
If prosecution, you think you have a case, look, admit the person to bail, go to court, let them also come and cross-examine your witnesses, and at the end, let the court decide. But don't use bail as punishment. That one, lie. There's no way any of us will sit here and support such acts. So please, the prosecution, take notice, especially the overzealous policemen who want to use this kind of political cases to get promotion, etc. Face fine or eye service has no place in our democracy. For us, it's about personal liberties are priceless. Use due process. If you finish the case in court, that one, the punishments are what you call indicated in the Act 30 and other laws. Of course, if the punishments also appear too harsh, we will make noise for review, just like the death penalty was struck down.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. So Vekufu Yasantua, thank you once again for the 48 hours is 48 hours. Of course, current Chief Justice, Acting Chief Justice Bafu Boni was on the panel. Bafu Boni was on the Pebu number 1 and number 2, all those cases. It's interesting how they've all been going now. It's Bafu Boni's turn. And I hope he will make it, a substantive Chief Justice, because that's important. At least there's a certain track record of Bafu Boni supporting personal liberties. Yes, our society is growing stronger. Yeah, it's Galamsey, Kentucky Tech through the second, right? Good morning. The man leading the charges for the Cecilia Dapa case. Okay, we'll continue to laud Galamsey. I've seen other chiefs. Oh, Togbe Afede. Yes, they're celebrating the Yam Festival, right? And they have a team on corruption. So, Togbe Afede, thank you. Continue the trailblazing. Togbe Afede was one other chief that spoke up a lot during the Akufo-Addo's misgovernance and tyranny. Togbe, we are very grateful, right? And so, Johnson Esiedu, once again, the 52.5 billion report, 52.5 billion cedis, that report must come out so that we'll see where that money went to. The money we borrowed from the IMF is nowhere near the 52.5 billion. So we need to see that money that left the GCB accounts, where did it go? I think Esiedu has to be sacked immediately. Well, since 2020, December, we've read this letter several times. You said there will be a report. December 2020. This 2025 is almost coming to an end. So 5 years on, one report. One report, morning, afternoon, evening. You can't alter it, and you are keeping the office. Yet Domlevo, who was doing well, Akufo-Addo hounded out of office. And Esiedu, who can't do that much, he is keeping his office. This is very unfair.
On that particular matter, we have, in fact, put together a request to get the latest on it. Because I recall that when this matter was first reported 5 years ago, the audit service responded to that inquiry, but then did not answer some of the questions. and reason why there was still that lingering issue about exactly where the money is.
Okay.
That answer we haven't gotten.
Okay.
So we have applied for some information so that if there is a need to, as it were, from the references you have made, get into it beyond the advocacy.
Yes.
So that Parliament, for instance, must be interested.
Yes,
Because at some point, Parliament it has been the petition Parliament.
But Parliament couldn't deal with it.
So we're following that petition
now,
as well as to whether it was acted upon
Yeah.
or not.
Yes.
So
and
then
let
we know
me
what
add
next to
something.
do.
Kofi Afulu, who first reported it, he's also now gone to OSP. So Michael Kofi Afulu, yes, he went to OSP. OSP is also looking into it. But that is not an excuse for Mr. Johnson Esiedu to not release the report.
Okay.
Releasing the report is his promise, and that's required by law.
Perfect.
It doesn't affect the OSP investigations into the matter.
Perfect. Right. So this is one that we're sinking our teeth into. We want to take some time on this, and because you've mentioned it quite a number of times, we have to get into it. But also joining us is Andy Apiakubi. He's a former member of Parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency. He's a private legal practitioner joining us in that capacity, joining us on Zoom right now. Andy Apiakubi, good morning. Thank you for joining us. But if you unmute for us, unmute for us. Great. And yeah, while you check that, let me also welcome Godwin Eduji Tamaklo. He is the Director of Legal for the NDC, the governing NDC, and also the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. Mr. Tamaklo, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred. Good morning to my two learned seniors.
Yeah, morning.
In fact, three learned seniors.
Okay, that's right.
Oh boy. Let me also welcome Kofi Bento, is the Vice President of policy think tank Imani Africa. He is a private legal practitioner in good standing. So Kofi Bento, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Alfred. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. We're going to have a few persons join us as well as we go on. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe will join us as well. But the other one, the Apiakubi, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect.
Good morning, my brother.
Great. And
I hope you're good. And good morning to my good friends on the panel.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And yes, let's be a bit stable with the Zoom connection. We're still having that break. So please get some stability for us. But this is it.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, you.
Oh. I don't see any disconnection.
No, it's okay. Now it's fine. Leave it this way.
Okay.
If you could, yes, leave it this way. That should be good. Now, this follows up on the call, gentlemen, by the Catholic Bishops' Conference for the President to declare a state of emergency. We've seen what's happened in the last 5 days at least. The number of operations in the western, eastern, central regions. We showed videos of it. And NIMOS and some other task force that has been set up by the MCE in the Buakwa area to clamp down on Galamsey. In addition to these achievements that the President highlighted last week, as even in the absence of a state of emergency, this is what has been achieved. Is this enough justification for the reluctance of the President to declare a state of emergency? I'll start off with you.
Absolutely. It goes without saying.
These?
Yes, they are.
Why is that?
Oh, I've been making that point even before last Saturday. We were on social media a few days to last Saturday, other radio stations, where I said, look, this then, my key question is this. What is it? And that's what the President said. What is it that we cannot do now, but only a state of emergency will allow us to do? What is it? Because the key thing is that the state of emergency, like I keep saying, is basically it's a paper. Declaration of a state of emergency is a paper. And we all know in our Ghanaian parlance, we like to say, paper no get legs, right? It's something we for carry on. So the declaration of a state of emergency is not a magic wand. That declaration alone is not a silver bullet. You will still need the police to go and enforce. And you see that if you were to declare a state of emergency, you are asking basically what are the consequences after? Because in Article 31, after giving the various circumstances under which a state of emergency can be declared, the next is that the government can take some steps to curtail our liberties. So number one, we are looking at freedom of movement, freedom of speech, right? Communications, assembly. Look at all the freedoms from Article 12 to about 32. The chapter 5 ends around Article 33, right? Of course, there are other rights that are not expressly stated in the Constitution. But Article 33 says that they are also recognized. Because, this our Constitution is partly, these rights are a reproduction of our international obligation under the International Covenant for Civil and Political Rights, and then the one on economic and social rights, right? So for those that we've not even expressly provided here, they are also part and recognized. So the key thing is that why do you want the government to impose a state of emergency to now come and curtail freedom of movement, communications, etc.? To do what?
And this
to do what?
The call is to enforce this state of emergency or impose a state of emergency in specific areas.
I'm saying so. Let's say
where this Galamsey is happening, and it's distracting or causing destruction to these forest reserves, and then also the pollution of water bodies. It's not a mass imposition that is being called for.
Excellent. Yes. Oh, I thought that was too clear. Often because we don't have much time, we just go to the salient part. But if you permit me, yes, so let's go back. So let's say, yes, we know you showed the Galamsey hit this map. Yes. So let's use the president's hometown area, Bole Bamboy. So they say Erasmus Asaridonko gave the example of the Yonkomba River, right? So that area. So if let's say you take Bole, if you say the state of emergency should cover the whole town of Bole, what specific? Are you doing a lockdown? Lockdown that nobody should move, like what we did during COVID? Restrictions, you see? And I'm soon coming to the Supreme Court decision that struck down the Act 1012. You know when we did the restrictions? Yes, Act 1012. The Supreme Court struck it down. It was dubious that the government was using it as a pretext to abuse fundamental human rights. So let's use Bole as an example. So if you say there's a state of emergency over Bole, which one? There are various methods, but let's be graphic. So they can say, okay, curfew, down to dusk, right? So let's say 6, maybe even, they say just stay indoors all day, like the way we were at home during the COVID. Is that what we are looking for? So stay indoors. Everybody should stay indoors. So apart from essential services, police, hospitals, telecom, right, courts, there are about 7 or 8 essential services, right? Yes. So apart from them, the rest of the citizens should stay at home.
But with what is happening now?
Sorry?
With what is happening now, yes, what you see, right? Yes. The task force, they will go to one area, clamp down on their activities. Yes. When they move from there, after some time, the illegal miners go back.
But the president gave an answer. He said now they will give a permanent presence. We have police. The police are at least around 40,000. There are millions of graduates at home. They want to enlist in the police service. And me, I keep repeating that. I pray that, look, we shouldn't use the military. We can use the police. Let the military do external aggression and war. Let the police work. Let the police work. We don't want this militarization of Galamsey. No, okay? Let the military concentrate on the other. Look, we need bridges, more roads to be built, etc. If the military, we have more of them in the barracks and the rest, they are not occupied. Let's deploy them in the big push agenda when it comes to the road construction, because they have the 48th Engineer Regiment, etc. Because I've been advocating that a lot of the government projects, yes, let the military help. That one I agree. But when it comes to law enforcement, the Constitution is clear that the police has that traditional role of maintaining law and order, right? Yes, as we've stated in Article 200, right? So my point is that now, so we're talking about the, what do you call it, imposing restrictions. So let's just read this briefly before we go on. It says, Article 200, Clause 3, it says, the police service shall be equipped and maintained to perform its traditional role of maintaining law and order. Then when you go to Article 210, that's 210, you say, it says, the armed forces shall be equipped and maintained to perform their role of defense of Ghana. So that's the main one, okay? As well as such other functions for the development of Ghana as the president may determine. So you see, for the development, yes, the roads, the big push agenda, that's it. That place, the engineering regiment, etc. So the point is this, citizens, we are in this together. You know that, look, we've all suffered for Galamsey. I keep telling you, I lost my job because I was fighting to save Itiwa Forest, right? Everybody, people around, I'm sure people will recount their personal stories and they'll show that every one of us here is paid a price one way or the other. So it's not as if we just want to sit down and say anything. Please, I'm being very humble. What I'm saying is that, look, under the laws, currently the police can help. NIMOS, that's the National Task Force, has its own persons, etc. They are allowed to go and stop the Galamseyers. And the president said that after stopping them, now we'll have permanent presence in the forest. So it's not like this time they will go and stop the Galamseyers, go away to the next forest, and then the Galamseyers leave the forest currently being, monitored, and go to the other forest, which is supposedly free. No, the president said that they would have a permanent presence. And that is something that previously I had been arguing with this Kenashibe. I told him, I said, look, we just need more boots on the ground. More permanent boots on the ground.
Well,
and that's what the president said they are doing.
Beyond just the boots, it's people of integrity. We've seen...
excellent, yes.
We've seen people in uniform compromised.
Yes.
In this Galamsey fight.
Yes.
So it's not just about having these people, the permanent boots
on the ground. You are perfectly right. So previously, we had said that they should embed more journalists in the team so that the journalists, the media would, you know, keep the, searchlight on them. Because it says sunshine is the best disinfectant.
But unfortunately, we had a journalist also.
And then one journalist, yes, but one bad apple spoils the rest, right? But that was one case. But we can't stop trying. In our personal lives, when we fail, we get up and then keep trying. So in the same way, in governance, if somebody fails, we check out the person, deal with the person according to law, and then replace. So for me, as I've said, please, let's do everything. Let's exhaust the laws. Because if you don't exhaust the laws, if the president declares a state of emergency, look, it won't take 24 hours. Some citizens will be in the Supreme Court challenging him that who has asked him to do such a thing when we've not exhausted all the laws. So please, let's be patient. And I'm happy since, for the past week and a half now, you see that now citizens are facing up to the fact that, well, maybe we're shouting state of emergency, like a magic wand.
Well, that brings in the politics of things.
Yes,
in the previous administration, this call for a state of emergency was rife. And the former president was held to the fire for not declaring a state of emergency. And now it appears, as you're saying, the reality has hit us.
Yes.
And now there's the reluctance to do so.
Yes. The former president, Akufo-Addo, was held to the fire for that because of his reckless comments. Yeah?
Which is what?
The Akunta mining matter. And of course, now we all know that in October, the Akunta mining case will be going to court. Attorney General has his charges ready. That would be great to see Wontumi in court. Finally. Yes, let the laws work. So Akufo-Addo was held to account for his reckless comments on Akunta mining and other things. He said Akunta mining was not engaged in illegal mining at the time he was speaking. A message that chilled the investigations. You know, because the police are not that independent, Fosina Ndoku, CID boss at the time, yes, was looking over his shoulders with the commander-in-chief saying that Chairman Wuntumi and Akunta mining were not involved in illegal mining.
Yeah, I'm talking about state of emergency.
Yes, you asked me the question that you said the Kufuor had been held to account, okay, because he didn't declare a state of emergency. And I was saying that it's not just that he didn't declare, but his posturings, he gave succor to illegal mining by defending Chairman Wuntumi, etc. Yes. So the state of emergency is not just that citizens were not. So in one word, it was a culmination of all his previous posturings and reckless comments.
So should that same posture be applied to this administration for the president's reluctance in declaring a state of emergency?
No, they are two different things. The president has said that, look, you see, he's shown over 1,000 illegal miners arrested, special courts in the offing to speed up prosecution, 440 excavators impounded. This time it's not like under Kufuor where the excavators fled. They developed wings and fled. 1,400 plus water pumps destroyed. Of course, I'm against that one because under the law, it says that when you get the equipment, give to the district assemblies after the end of the prosecution. So, Mr. President and NIMOS, please don't destroy champagnes, etc. Okay, no distractions, right? Yeah, 300 champagne machines seized in recent months. Then 980 security personnel recruited and deployed to protect water bodies and reserves. And of course, we have millions of our citizens unemployed, right? Let's employ more, right? So based on this, that's based on the fact that we've not exhausted all the remedies available to us in law, I cannot support a state of emergency. Okay. Even under Kufuor, if you had asked me, as I said, you won't find me on record to have said I wanted a state of emergency for Galamsey. No, maybe something else. But for Galamsey, I never joined that bandwagon. I never joined that wagon. Okay.
I see. Well, on this matter, because you see, the president's reference and his indicated that his reluctance to declare a state of emergency is not in oblivion. He talks about the powers available and what he's using the powers for. And these achievements, as we outlined, we put on the screen, is what he says, at least over the last 9 months, this without a state of emergency has been achieved. So give me time, let me exhaust the powers. State of emergency would be the last resort. As against the demands of civil society and now the Catholic Bishops' Conference, that the state of emergency, because of the existential threat we're faced with now, should even be now. It should be imposed now instead of the nearest possible future. That's sounding like...
He has a point. The president has a point. And nation building is not easy. Governance is not easy. To make durable decisions, effective durable decisions, you need to analyze the problem well, spend time thinking through it. Development is thinking intensive. It is not action intensive. Thinking intensive. And if you do a lot of critical thinking around the issue, you come to some of the positions that Martin has come to. For instance, that the state of emergency per se won't solve the problem, right? And last week, I got a call from a very senior military person. I mean, very, very senior, very experienced, and clearly knows what he's talking about. And he made a very, very good suggestion. He said, look, state of emergency, like you're saying, it's a declaration of something, and it goes with so many other things. On the other hand, you could simply declare every Galamsey area as a security zone. What it does is you don't have to go to Parliament, but you open up that space for the military and the police and the security agencies to take it over and then deal with it. That is a better way, in my view, of dealing with it.
Declared as a security zone.
Declared as a security zone. Okay. And that one you can do as an executive. You don't have to go through so many things, and you still can effect certain things. Like Martin is saying, I have no doubt that if our army is left alone, they can do this job, but they won't be left alone. All right. So those things are there now. However, those calling for the state of emergency have absolute firm grounds to do so. Why? It was a social contract. Okay, the problem is that sometimes we politicize everything. So the government went on, persons in the government went on, and they made noises and clamored and called and made political capital out of it and said, declare state of emergency. If you don't declare this, there are ministers today who said if they don't declare state of emergency, they will resign. And they said all kinds of things. When you do that, you make a promise to the state, the nation, the people. And if based on that you get into office, you are morally bound to do so. That is the grounds upon which people are saying declare state of emergency. But like I said, development is not action intensive per se. It is thinking intensive. So honestly, for some of us, we think that some mistakes are being made. And until those conceptual mistakes which when you embark on that path, it is clear you're going to get a certain result. And that's why Galamsey hasn't been solved. Personally, right now, I can tell you, I don't think we'll solve Galamsey.
You don't think we'll solve Galamsey?
No, we won't. We will not solve Galamsey because we are not serious about solving Galamsey. Look, let me quote Thomas Sowell. Okay, you can Google him. He says, it is hard to imagine a more dangerous or stupid way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of people who pay no price for being wrong. This is Thomas Sowell. Forgive his language. He says, it is hard to imagine anything more stupid, anything more dangerous than putting in the hands of people a job that they have to do for which they don't pay any price for failing. All right? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, in the case of Galamsey, it is worse. Let me tell you why. They don't pay any price for failing, and they gain a lot for failing.
We sacked the MPP.
Oh.
It's a price. The MPP, all the pikes, the corruption, they were chopping left, right, center, but we booted them out.
You see, that again is our problem. Mm-hmm. When we politicize everything and think removing one government and bringing another will let those boys mining in the forest, the Galamsey kingpin sitting in Accra, and all the people financing it, you shift MPP to NDC, that's what we do. And it is worse. So we will not solve Galamsey. All right? Let me also tell you, hold on. Give me a minute, please. I'll get through this. Let me also tell you why we will not solve Galamsey. There is no political will to solve Galamsey.
There's no political will?
There is only political rhetoric. Mm-hmm. There is no political will. How do you see political will? You see it in definite, effective actions. There are no definite, effective actions to solve Galamsey. And I'll explain. Why? The city today, and to that extent, our economy, is supported by Galamsey.
How do you say this, that the city is supported by Galamsey?
If you want me to go there, I'm going to go there. But the point is, all the stability you are seeing, etc., you've been told about how successful Gold Board is. Gold Board has told you how many tons of gold and billions of dollars they've sold and made, to support the city. Where do you think they're getting that gold from?
Well, right? Where do you think they're getting it?
They are getting from Galamsey.
How do you know that?
I know that because it's been declared that most of it is coming from small-scale mining. Let me finish my point.
Registered small-scale mining?
Yes, registered. Let me finish my point. We'll get to that. But I'm telling you, the city today is supported by Galamsey. Now, then...
Well, if you prove that, then...
You are breaking my flow. Yes. I'm making the points why. I said there's no political will. The economy is supported by it. Those in charge of support of stopping Galamsey are the ones benefiting from it. All right? Let me tell you, I quoted Thomas Sowell, and I'm going through some of the things that if we want to do, we can do. And we will not do because, like I said, there's no political will to solve it. For instance, these are things that we can do today. All right? Mm-hmm. One, the government or the president can issue a statement and ban all import of excavators. Ban all non-construction uses of excavators. Today, he can pass that. And there's no reason why not. A small country like Ghana is the world's biggest importer of excavators. Why? And most excavators in Ghana are being used for destruction instead of construction. Well, today, the president can ban it, and anybody found using an excavator which is not being used in construction, it can be seized
Okay.
I'm not talking about Galamsey. I'll finish. I just have 2 or 3 points.
Yes, no, I just want to say that the point about William being the world's biggest importer of Galamsey is not supported by facts.
Okay, I get it. I mean, we are making the point.
We are part of.
I hear you.
But not the world's biggest. If you talk about the sub-region, yes.
Okay, I hear you.
But the world's biggest importer.
You make those. When I finish, you can clear those things.
I just wanted to make that.
I concede on that. Okay, we are amongst the biggest. The point is still the same. All right? So I get it. Now, today, like we just said, instead of passing state of emergency and doing nothing, you can declare security zones in all those places and let loose our military there and let them do their work. Today, if you want, Galamsey happens in districts. In each of those districts, there's a district chief executive. In each of those districts, it's covered by a regional minister. And these districts are also covered by chiefs. All right? Today, if we want, we can make a rule that says, if Galamsey is found in your district, you lose your job. Why is that difficult? Why is that difficult? This is an existential problem for this country. It is killing people. Okay, you are the district chief executive. Why have you not been able to solve the biggest problem in your district? If today we find Galamsey in your district, you are out. A new person comes, and we keep sacking them. Today, we can do it if we want to. And I'm saying there's no political will. That is why we will not do it. Then let me add this to it also. Listen, we have chiefs who are custodians of our lands. Custodians are, in effect, trustees. It doesn't belong to them. You have a situation where a local problem like Galamsey, digging and spoiling and polluting the land, is having a national effect. We are all paying the price for somebody's, malfeasance.
Yeah.
It is reasonable for us, and we can do it today using an executive order or go to Parliament and pass a law that says that every land space which Galamsey is found on shall be nationalized. It shall be forfeited to the state. It shall no longer belong to that chief and no longer be in the power of the chief, etc. All right? In other words, if you're a chief and you allow Galamsey on any part of your land, that land is lost. You don't have any rights over it. Alfred,
yes.
I have just listed a number of things. If you play back, you see what I mean.
Yes.
I can go through it back for time. And I'm saying these are things we can do today. But there is no political will to do it because the people who are supposed to fix it are the ones benefiting from it. And Thomas Sowell has told you, and he said it decades ago, that it's a very, very, very bad way of governance. So let's stop the screaming and shouting about state of emergency per se. But I've also told you that is because Eduji and his people campaign heavily over it. And that is why people are charging them to execute on that. All right? So please, Galamsey can be stopped. But as far as I'm concerned, until I see some of these things that can be done easily being done, I don't think we'll solve.
Including the chiefs and traditional leaders
forfeiting their lands.
Leading that charge on the ground. Because you see, there's that concern about the deficiency of the legs that Martin Bebo talks about being on the ground. If the chiefs and people take charge of their own destinies in fighting Galamsey in the areas, will not necessarily need...
You are perfectly right. If I didn't go there, but there are instances where there are pockets, areas where Galamsey is not present. And the only reason why is because the chiefs refuse to allow it. So look, no government can come from Jubilee and go and solve Galamsey in Etriman Polua. It is the chiefs and the people, which is why I'm saying there should be a consequence for them not doing it. The consequence of not doing it is that you, the chief, you lose that land. All that space of land, that whole forest reserve is nationalized. It's no longer yours. Number two, the people there will also lose the land for farming and wild because it's declared a security zone. The army goes there. Where you don't find Galamsey, there's only one reason. It's because the chiefs and the people refuse to make that happen. Sorry, you took me there, so let me go there. We at Imani are aware of something. There's something called the Galamsey economy. It is supporting 4 million people in Ghana.
Okay. 4 million?
Yeah, that's one of the estimates. Supporting 1 million to 4 million people.
Yeah, the president cited this.
Oh, well, good. I didn't even hear that. But that's what our research is showing. And this is more than just the people mining, etc. That is a massive problem. Okay? And until the people get to a point where they feel stopping Galamsey will be more beneficial than doing it, they won't stop it. people selling food, selling water, and all those other things. I hear people are rationing water in some places. All right, yeah. So if you take the fact that in an economy like ours, 4 million people are supported by Galamsey, then you need really serious things being done to make sure that it makes more sense for them not to do that, but to do other things. So, Alfred, I've listed just a few things that I'm asking. Why would we not do those things today? Why not ban excavators? Why not make every DCE's job dependent on removing Galamsey? Why don't you nationalize all lands where Galamsey is found present and make sure that you can declare those areas security zones, allow the army to run around in those places?
As for your army thing, I've been telling the army people that we don't want them here. No, let them go and build roads and defend.
I agree with building roads, but the point is this.
Let the police work. They also have a SWAT team. They have the
myself, the army has tried, they didn't succeed because they were interfered with. If we leave them alone, they can do it. This is internal aggression.
Which is
it is internal aggression.
It's not necessary.
You need force. They are armed though.
Let the police
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, let's leave it.
Thank you.
They are armed in the forest.
It's clear that you are not going to agree on this. So you have divergent views, which is fine.
Oh, but the main point, we agree that state of emergency is not a magic wand. We agree on boots on the ground, but he's saying add soldiers, and we are saying, I'm saying no.
You don't want soldiers. Where did you come? The question about the political will, the position that Akofibento espouses, which he references the inaction in specific areas. Reason why, in his view, making that emphatic statement that Galamsey cannot be stopped because of the inaction in these specific areas he talks about. Why not ban the importation of excavators? We saw over 1,200 of them impounded at the ports. But some number of them have been moved to decongest the ports, some measures being put in place to track them and so on. Why are these actions not being taken to back the interventions that we've seen in the last 8 months that the president outlines? Reason why he's reluctant in declaring a state of emergency.
Okay, so Alfred, once again, I want to thank you and a good morning to my cherished seniors today. Today I'm surrounded by my seniors at the bar, and I've listened to each one of them raise very salient points. I need to first of all make this point, that the Catholic Bishop Conference within the week raised a very important issue about the existential nature of Galamsey and the call to the president to declare a state of emergency. The NDC and the government of Ghana, led by President John Dramani Mahama, respects the views expressed by the Catholic Bishop Conference. Over the period, they have never reneged in the call for the ban on Galamsey activities. The records to show that by 2023, we have done $11 million worth of imported water into the country. Aside creating $11 million worth of job outside the country, I mean, you can imagine if we could rely on this solely here in the country. I think it's important that in having this conversation, we put context to it, because the context will help us appreciate whether there is a political will or there is a lack of it. I recall vividly in 2017, immediately when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo took over, among others, he said he was putting his presidency on the line relative to the fight against Galamsey. In the next 100 years, only 25 people out of 32 million can become president. And so where a president says, I am putting my presidency on the line, is a huge price that he's willing to pay for. So by 2017, we had Operation Vanguard, correct?
Yeah.
Now, it's important to make that point that it didn't take long when the government withdrew the military component of Operation Vanguard. By reason of the National Security Directive that they had been success chalked with Operation Vanguard, and therefore took the military out and then justified why the police should handle it, in the sense that the police are responsible for internal security. It has always been stated that Galamsey is environmental terrorism. And for that matter, in handling it, you must handle it as though you are dealing with terrorists. And so the military was very germane into this whole conversation.
Yes.
So by 2019, we had moved the military. However, something happened. By 2020, the entire Operation Vanguard was disbanded. What animated that decision? We do not know. However, by 2021, after the NPP had lost elections, so if you recall, the disbandment coincided with the 2020 re-election. A president that had put his presidency on the line. So by 2020, when he needed re-election, he disbanded Operation Vanguard. Very important. Immediately, he got a second term. In 2021, he came out with Operation Halt, Phase 2. Very, very important. This time around, they brought the military back and said they were engaged in an intelligence-led operation to stop Galamsey. Very, very important. So this is where we have moved to where we are today. Then now remember something. It was in 2023 that the bombshell came. The Professor Frimpong Boateng report. It is that bombshell that threw light on the lack of will, I won't call it political, the lack of will to deal with the issue. Now, if you read the Frimpong Boateng report, it chronicles what then appeared to be direct interference right from the presidency relative to the issues of Galamsey. And in the words of Professor Frimpong Boateng, an interview he granted GBC, he then said, quote, that the Jubilee House had become the center of Galamsey, and named persons who were then working, one at the Chief of Staff's office, among other things, are persons with interest in Galamsey. That is the trajectory. That is the record of what we are faced with. Now, it's important to say this. When you look at the Professor Boateng's report, the 2023 one, it was that report that told us that the president is in receipt of this report 2 years earlier. It was when Professor Boateng did the interview with GBC. Then quickly the president referred Frimpong Boateng to the CID. That was when civil society came in and said, Mr. President, why report him to the CID when you had already been in receipt of this report 2 years earlier? Is it a strategy, as it were, to gag Frimpong Boateng? Sentence. So, and if you recall, that was when Professor Frimpong Boateng then was arrested, and his bail conditions became an issue, and then the conversations started. Now, what we all need to know is the call by President, or the call on President Mahama by well-meaning Ghanaians that, Mr. President, we think we've gotten to a situation where a declaration of a state of emergency will greatly help. And I say this with all due respect. The Catholic Bishop Conference, among others, in this country, and with all humility on this platform, I'm not sure any of us received security briefing. It is only the president. Pursuant to the report and the briefings that he's gotten, he says, I am not ruling out the state of emergency, but it will be the last resort.
But if you listen to the scholars, they don't receive security briefing, but the realities.
I'm coming there. I'm coming there with respect. Now, basically what we are confronted with now is a president who, even without making a declaration that I'm putting my presidency on the line, has taken bold initiatives. We need to first ask ourselves, what would have been the state of affairs if President Mahama has not arrested over 1,000 illegal miners? What would have been the state of affairs if we have 440 excavators currently working on our water bodies? What would have been the state of affairs if we have 1,400 water pumps on our water bodies currently? What would have been the state of affairs with 300 shamfines working currently? What would have been the state of affairs? Always remember that by 2020, we had already moved Operation Vanguard, disbanded it. Operation Hot came, nothing really came out of it. Now we have NIMOS. Now, what is the mandate, the core mandate of NIMOS? It's important we appreciate that. What NIMOS has now done is to become a centralized secretariat. Centralized, permanently fixed to our water bodies, together with the water guards. Is that yes? The water guards, ably assisted with the marine police, among other things, to ensure that we'll get to the point where we'll be manning our water bodies by 24 hours. Look, I've seen people try to ridicule President John Dramani Mahama and what he said prior to becoming president, that we're going to use AI in the conversation to fight Galamsey. I met the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources yesterday. Okay. And he said, look, Eduji, the entire length of the Ankobra River is about 190 kilometers. So what it means is that if it's only even the Ankobra, you need to have the water guards man the Ankobra River 190 kilometers every day and at every time.
That won't work.
Correct.
The pollution comes from elsewhere.
So
if you sit on the river, you don't stop the pollution.
So I am coming there. I am coming there. And he said, look, if you do a movement through, you now notice that they are fetching the water outside, treating the sand and everything outside, and now pumping it back into the water body. So today, you don't see them necessarily on the water.
Exactly.
But they are operating outside the water. So what it means is that even the dynamics relative to the illegal mining things has changed, because they are also responding to government intervention. In the sense that when they see progress here, they also innovate.
Right.
For want of a better word. Yeah. Also innovate to come out with different strategies
but are these
to keep surviving.
Potent.
Extremely potent.
To address the evolving nature of this.
No, that is why I'm saying that. You see, Mr. Bento raised a very important point. He said it is not only action, but thinking. You need people to begin to look at the cycle, the extent of innovation, and respond accordingly. Why? In the 1980s, Ghana became a hub for drugs. Many families created generational wealth out of drugs. It has to take the PNDC. But remember, at that time, we didn't have this nature of democracy. And this even moved on to 96. You remember, Benjilo.
Yes.
Those were the top boys. It was by 1999, that government basically rooted the big boys out, and then it basically quieted. Even that, by 2003, the drug trade had Goldman
Yes.
and the rest.
Yes.
MV Benjamin and the rest. So this is a trade that evolves. That is the phase that Galamsey is taking. Galamsey had become an amoeba.
So root out the big boys.
Yes.
So you see, that was a
No, now I'm coming there. I'm coming there. I'm coming there. You see, I have said
in your manifesto.
Yes.
The promise was to identify the kingpins.
I'm coming there.
And the financiers.
So permit me. You see, when you want to deal with the big boys, it's always intelligence-led. Because no big boy will go to a Galamsey site. Nobody does that. I recall, if you read the Republic versus something Bonsu, alias Benjilo,
Yes. Yes.
in the judgment, you will notice how Benjilo was even keeping drugs in children's book just to conceal it. It has to take intelligence to get to that level. Yeah. And they'll put it in the freezer. Yeah. The drugs in the freezer. It's all in the law reports. And how eventually, in fact, if you read Justice Atugba's, the Supreme Court portion of it, Justice Atugba basically takes you through the factual matrices. The point I am making is that we have gotten to the point where it should be intelligence-led. Some of it I cannot say on air because of the intelligence nature of it.
Right.
So that you can even get to that point. Look, shockingly, we are even finding out that there is a fuel, a petroleum aspect to the conversation.
To Galamsey?
Yes. How are the excavators working?
Yes.
How are they fueled?
Fuel consumption alone will tell you what's happening.
There was an operation earlier in the year that they identified a makeshift fuel station.
That is why I am saying that some of these things are intelligence-led. You can't say much about it. Because you also need to look at it. Very critical intervention. So it's a bit more complex. And you see, with respect, if you take respectfully, and I say this with all humility, a tunnel vision approach to the fight, you miss it. You go and arrest the small boys, and immediately another set will get recruited. I found out something uniquely. My friend is into big farms, and the person who supplies him fuel in the farms, one day visited, twice he's lost the mates, the tanker driver, the mates. So he asked him, how come that anytime you come with a different mate? Then he said there was a time that when he visited one of the mining communities with his mate, the mate asked the guys who go, they call it the boys, almost say Yakoyam and Miano. So he asked them how much they make. And then the guys gave him how much they make every day. He said that was when he lost the mate.
That's the Galamsey economy.
The mate then asked, he said, Master, the menya wa ha se me kona me ko yama anua na the menya wa ha no untimi ntuame. And that was how he lost the mate. And so it's a bit more nuanced than it. But what I have seen, and that is why I want to submit that President Mahama has demonstrated political will. At least we saw party leadership meet in the minister's office and say, party hiasika. You remember?
Yes, absolutely.
Party hiasika.
Yeah.
Party needs money. And so we must do it. We saw that before in the minister's office. What happened? Today, at least if not for anything, under the watch of President Mahama, 2 of my national officers are going through an investigative process. That's political will.
Joseph Yamin and Abanga.
I know when that decision was taken by the Attorney General, I know the resistance. You have no idea. President Mahama said, look, let the right thing be done. If at the end you are exonerated, you are exonerated.
the reference of Abanga and Joseph Yamin to EOCO?
I am saying that President Mahama says, Attorney General, this is the reference that you have made. Let it be investigated. At least it will clear the name of those individuals if at the end of the day no wrongdoing is found. That not only that. My senior then raised the issue about why destroy some of this equipment. Government of Ghana is not destroying the water pumps. They are redistributing it to farmers for use for irrigation, among others. The only thing that we are destroying now is the champagne, because they are special purpose. You can't use champagne for anything. You can only scrap it. You can only scrap it and take the metal component for other things. But you can't use champagne for any other thing because it's a special thing made for this particular purpose. So what we should do is that, look, as we speak today, President Mahama is not saying, I will not declare a state of emergency. He says that there are cocktail of interventions, approaches, methods that I have deployed so far. I've been in power for 8 months. It's not a forever that I've been in power. 8, 9 months that I've been in power. This is my scorecard. The excavators I've gotten, none of them has vanished into thin air. You can easily verify them. 2, my transport ministry has intervened in such a way that today we are able to track the excavators and where they are going. Today, over 500 excavators are under the watch of the Ghana Armed Forces. It has never been the record. Our ports were so porous that we were moving excavators out as though we were sharing granates. That is not the record today. So yes, you can describe Ghana as having the largest excavators coming. What is the record? Thankfully, civil society, of which you vice president, could go back into that from January up to date, how many excavators have come? Where are their locations? So that the conversation becomes driven by data.
And on that,
then there can be a fair critique.
We will find out in a year where they will be.
Absolutely. And I want us to have that conversation once again.
Should be tracking immediately.
Even now. Because I am aware of a solution
up to the minute
to track the excavators from the point of entry to wherever. And thankfully, the coordinates, if you tamper with it, it will give you. And there's more like a command center where you can see every excavator and the seals on it.
Let me give you an easy way, since you are working on it. 1, unless you are a contractor involved in road.
No. So that one, I'm coming. So it is construction-led. If it's construction-led, we should know which construction site, which road contract you are executing with those excavators. And thankfully, roads are not constructed in space. They are on land. And so the coordinate, the geography of where can be identified. If you go and rent the excavator from ABCD company, and you say, this excavator, I am renting it for ABC construction project. You provide all of those. So the whole approach is going to be intelligence-led. It is not just going to be the usual noise. I want people to have confidence in President Mahama that he has what it takes to fix what has become our drug trade. I want to comment briefly on the issue of the state of emergency. See, when COVID came, we had the imposition of restriction acts. Go and read the Supreme Court decision on that. My professor, Appiah went to the Supreme Court in a writ action. The Supreme Court's reasoning in striking down that imposition of restriction act is a must read. It was disguised.
As a ruse to abuse.
It was a ruse to abuse the rights of people. Go and check. Look, the dynamics of Galamsey does not make it a one-off action where a declaration of state of emergency. Look, I said it last week here. When President of Philippines, Duterte, attempted with a martial law in his claim of fighting drug, first he started with Islamic insurgents, and then, transform it into a fight against drug. Today he's at The Hague, going through international criminal law. Why? Because of the excesses. Duterte himself never had a gun. Nobody saw President Duterte holding a gun, killing anybody because of drugs.
Okay.
But today, he's being prosecuted on the assumption of command responsibility. That as the president, the martial law happened under his watch. What we will not, with respect, allow President Mahama to take an initiative that post his presidency will become a problem for him. At least there's a historical record, there's an international record of how some of these martial laws ended up with the leaders involved.
There's a clear acknowledgement that a lot more needs to be done. We need to round up on this.
Yes, so I'll just permit me just to conclude, conclude on this one. I just want to say, President John Dramani Mahama had the benefit of doing something. The airline. The airline that under the watch of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, EPA sponsored and got passed. It gave exclusive right to the president to allow mining in forest reserve. In 8 months, the record of President Mahama, his scorecard is that he had never used that airline to grant anybody a mining opportunity in any of our forest reserve. That is a president that has exercised self-restraint. Within 4 years, when that 2 years or 3 years that the airline came into being, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo granted in excess of 500 mining leases in our forest reserves.
That's why they lost the election.
No, please, you speak for them. You are a policy advisor on that conversation. I am saying that in all fairness and candor, President Mahama has demonstrated political restraint. This is a president that has a power. He said, I don't need it. Among 8 months, that portion of the airline was what? Completely removed. We are not left, he's not done. He's saying that once Parliament convenes in October, under a certificate of urgency, I am going to have the entire airline taken off.
Amen.
That is President Mohammed's commitment. That is political will.
Well,
that we have not had in the past 8 years.
There is a clear
That's leadership.
That, yes, in as much as some measures have been put in place, a lot more needs to be done.
We don't run away from that. Once the problem exists, it means that it has to be solved.
Now,
but you see, it is the body language of the president that is important. Even when he has a power, he says, I don't need it. Why? He could have just sitting under the, claim of that, my predecessor passed it, so let me use it. He said, no.
Engineer, Dr. Kanasiwe, can you hear me? Hello, engineer, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Yes, but
yes,
my brother, he could not have. You see, the reason why His Excellency could not have is that we started clamoring against this.
But you clamored, but he clamored when Anado was president, and he still used it.
Let me listen to
it. That he was taking to Parliament to go and repeal it. Even the NDC had a Parliament amendment bill to repeal it. It's taken a while. And it's taken a while, and it has taken the effort of all of us pushing for it. I agree with you that His Excellency has demonstrated political will. But when you have a situation, when your turbidity of water is now 32,000 NT, it was 14,000 NTUs before we fought it. I would completely agree that the political will of the president is not in doubt. I would also agree that the effort of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is not in doubt. But there are some of the things that are hampering our efforts that are still not being dealt with. And so when you talk about the fact that we don't need a state of emergency, I'm wondering under what law are you distributing the bombs? Because Act 995 is very clear, and I'm not a lawyer, so I know you're a senior one as that, but Act 995 is very clear that before you can distribute what you have confiscated from any act and illegal mining, you need to go to court, get court to convict the person, then you do forfeiture. And that's why we say that under a state of emergency, the president then, because he can confiscate an asset, can just hand 1,000 excavators that have been seized. He does not need to, go through all that route, because under a state of emergency, some laws can also be suspended. And so, you then can do what it is that you're doing, not only to the pumps, but also to the excavators. And to the excavators currently, NIMOS needs a lot of resources. You could then sell all these excavators and then, use that to fund NIMOS. Another thing, we're talking about just a few excavators for 2,000 or so that are being imported. We have over 7,000 excavators that are still in the system, weapons of mass destruction. Go through any of these mining towns, they are still there. And you are constrained because of the fact that working under your normal regimes, you cannot do that. But the state of emergency would give the president the power to be able to the acquisition of property is one of the things that His Excellency will be able to do. As we speak, I'm happy recently, the minister, and every time when I have my conversations with him, I tell him that blue rivers in Gambia, I'm not too sure about. But now the minister is now telling us that we are going to have permanent military people in some of these places. Under a state of emergency, there can be restrictions on these water bodies that currently there's no fishing taking place, and make sure that nobody goes there. And so it will make it easier. And when you talk about the fact that His Excellency, you give an example of the person who is now undergoing prosecution. Bear in mind, ecocide is now becoming, one of the reasons why President Mahama and President Nana can be hot even after he's gone on this thing, because of the ecocide that is taking place with Galamsey. So not acting and letting the thing show could also result in you going to Parliament. Because very much, this President Mahama we are talking about. So when it comes to a state of emergency, the contours around it will be defined by His Excellency the President. So it is not as if we're going to declare a state of emergency and President Mahama is going to allow people to go out there and be shooting people. But there are things that we need to do that we can use to better stop this. So you have a lot of activity going on. But the question we should be asking ourselves is what is the outcome of that? When you have stability of water, 1832,000 NTUs, that is not a positive outcome. When you have the Bonsa water treatment plant being shut down, that is not a positive outcome. When you have the people in the Swede Road area not getting water, that is not a positive outcome. Chevy water treatment plants keep going up and down. When you have a situation where a Ghanaian company has its equipment for about 24 million bends and nothing is happening to it, that is not a positive outcome. So again, and my brother Energy, because that's what I was hearing, I did not hear everything else. But my brother Energy talks about the AG's thing. What is happening to the AG's thing? Me and my brother Martin have been fighting against Akota mining forever. What has happened to that? So the urgency of that, I'm not a lawyer, you need to educate me. But whether under a state of emergency, we will not be able to also get courts to act like the way the courts in the UK did, where, during their rounds, they could arraign you before those courts, and within 24 hours, you're jailed. Can't we do that under a state of emergency? And then, so there are some of the things that we need to fix. I don't know why, Adiji, you should be advising the president. Why is the Minister for Interior flouting Act 995 and deporting foreigners when they should be jailed? Why is that happening? So there are some activities that we need to do that are not happening. And the challenge we have is that the political exposed persons, the rich people, the people that His Excellency last year, October, called the kingpins, we're not dealing with them. Go and check the 1,000 or so people who have been arrested and tell me that there's any kingpin in it. The AG talked about Professor Watson's report. What should to be done about it? Who in that one has been brought to court? We have petitioned against the MP for our win. Nothing has happened. The NDC MP for Axim, for example, is also being, the constituency chairperson for Dunko and Axim have been implicated. What has happened to them? And so what we need to do is that the people who are around His Excellency, there are some of the people who are around His Excellency, working with some of the people who are around President Anadu, who are still in this and who are sabotaging the effort of His Excellency and then of the minister and then of people like Said Omani Buama of Blessed Memory. And so that's why we need a lot more robust effort. So I was waiting that when Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs said we're going to get the president come up with some robust act, I was waiting for that. So when we had at that press conference, what we were hearing was rather the opposite of it. And definitely is the reason why the Catholic Bishops' Conference will agree with that, the Laity Council will agree with that, and other bodies would agree with that.
Well, there's a clear acknowledgement of what has to be done. The urgency, it's the demand that is being made right now. The gentlemen, hold on. Made instead of the state of emergency, why not consider, for instance, the declaration of Galamsey sites as security zones? If the president says, well, I'm reluctant right now to declare a state of emergency, will the declaration of these specific Galamsey sites as security zones achieve the same outcome of a state of emergency?
So you see, again, that would deal with only one side of the issues. There are other things, you see, and again, I think that point has to be made there. The state of emergency is not the only panacea to solving the issues of Galamsey. But it is a prerequisite to be able to do other things that would enable you to do that. So when you do that and you decide security zone and all of that, would you be able, there are other things that you need to do that you might not be able to do with that. And so the question I ask, what is the difficulty? When the NDC itself, it's true, we've not had the president in the past having said a state of, but what is the difficulty? But we cannot, looking at what the Constitution, the issues that the Constitution raises, the elements in that are so clear for a state of emergency. If you look at the Emergency Powers Act as well, it's also very clear. And for us, the way we define all of that, there's a lot of controls that even in under state of emergency, there are some things that the president will not be able to do. So I'm not too sure you see, when the president talks about the last resort, we are beyond the last resort. If you see the way we've decimated our country, if you see the impact on kidney diseases, if you see all of this, I don't agree with Kofi Benson when he said that. That would only be one portion. You see, that one will be an element of what the state of emergency allows you to do. But there are other elements that you would be missing, which you also need to do concurrently to be able to deal with the issues of Galamsey. And we need to see Galamsey. You see, the president himself said it, that Galamsey is a national emergency. So I don't know what, His Excellency, I don't know what is holding you back from declaring a state of emergency and defining the contours as you are known to be for draconian.
All right. Engineer Dr. Kanashigbe, thank you very much for joining us here on KeyPoint. He is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. Also, I've got quite a number of your messages coming through. I read it on this, so we move on to the next issue. This one from Prince Henry Koforidia says, so far, I think the 8-month-old NDC government led by President Mahama is doing well in terms of Galamsey fight, and I will urge all to support government. We can only win the fight against Galamsey when we are united, devoid of politics and selfish interests. This one here also from Dr. Kwame Asan says, the politics of Galamsey is what has led to where we are now. If we do not politicize it, you would see the difference between the achievements that we will make and when we politicize it as well. The declaration of the state of emergency, in my view, as Kofi has indicated, is but one side. But looking at it holistically, there has to be urgency beyond the political commitment that has been stated. You say, Togwi, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, good morning, and thank you for your message.
I have a rebuke, so I'm just...
In fact, he sends a statement which he says, in 1945, an atomic bomb wiped out the entire populations in Japan. 85 years later, the effects are still being felt in the health of survivors, in the soil, in the environment, and in the very memory of humanity. Today, Ghana is facing its own slow-motion atomic bomb. That is Galamsey. We cannot continue the dangerous game of hide and seek. Every Ghanaian must understand that neutrality in this matter is betrayal. Chiefs, politicians, financiers, and community leaders who enable Galamsey are no better than those who drop poison into the very good food and water of our people. History will not forgive us if we fail. Just as Japan still carries the scars of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Ghana will carry the scars of Galamsey for generations unless we act boldly now. Let me be clear. Galamsey is Ghana's atomic bomb. Either we confront it with courage or it will wipe out the very life of this nation. Togwi, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, thank you very much for this. And then also Professor Stephen Kwekwaza, thank you very much for your message. This one here says that this is what he says. He says, let us understand what is meant by to suspend normal constitutional procedures.
Excellent.
Only procedures, but not the Constitution. Suspending part of the Constitution or the whole Constitution, the president should be careful not to do coup d'etat himself by declaring a state of emergency. His enemies are setting him up. He says, what is Professor Frimpong Boateng's position on the declaration of state of emergency? Professor Stephen Kwekwasari, thank you very much for sending this message.
Nobody would allow President Mahama to get to the point where he will become a Duterte. We will not.
Yeah, we
that one we will not
so
do.
he should do the simple things.
No, so he
and
will.
I've listed them for you.
Sinner, we will. And
So
like your point you raised are constructive. Declaring the area security zone is constructive. I mean, these are matters we can carry on board.
As long as it's not a state of emergency.
Yes, we are not going to have a Duterte.
And next time, don't be making these big promises.
Oh, no. I mean, we're very charitable.
Anyway, thank you.
And that is why it has been difficult for anybody to find President Mahama safe in opposition that he would declare a state of emergency.
Thank you very much.
Because he knew
this one
the
here,
dynamics
let me
of
exhaust the message.
That's a fact.
Why can't the government ban the use of excavators in small-scale mining?
Why not?
Whether legal or illegal.
Agree. I mean, these are something we can carry on board.
They destroy several acres of land to get
Look,
an
we've
ounce
been
gold.
mining gold
Thank you.
since Don Diego de Azambu that time. It is some fine and excavator that had brought the matter here.
Let's put this on the screen. The statistics about the excavator imports that you referenced. And this was put together by the research team. Let's put that on the screen right now. It tells a story. And Lawyer Judicial Maklo concurs with Dr. Emmanuel Koshi. Thank you very much. I think that message was directed to Lawyer Judicial Maklo. He concedes that the ban on the use of excavators in small-scale mining is one that can be considered.
In fact, that is what has created a problem.
Okay.
The use of excavators.
You look at this. In terms of excavator imports, this data is specific to 2023. We are asking for an updated one. We'll get it in the coming days from all the assurances we've gotten. In the sub-region, yes, Ghana is number one, but not in the world.
Not in the world, yeah.
Yes, $205 million.
India
2023. Yes. Nigeria follows 94 million. On the continent, gentlemen, on the continent, 436 million. South Africa, Ghana comes in second with 205 million.
So Mr. Ocansey, but something is clear. It doesn't mean all the excavators are going to Galamsey,
absolutely.
right?
90%. You have that data we don't have. We don't have that.
This actually, I'll tell you, I could leave these statistics. Percent are going there. Oh, Charlie. Good.
So this is what we do know, okay, on the excavator imports. And beyond that as well, there is also the global positioning. As we do know, Ghana is ranked 10th most imported in fact, excavators are ranked 10th most imported product in Ghana out of the 4,282. On the global scale, Zabento, now this answers that point you made earlier.
Yes.
The 34th largest importer worldwide.
But you see, this one also looks at volume in terms of monetary volume.
And not the number of excavators.
Yeah.
So
that
if it
distinction
costs
is
more,
clear.
If you go to per capita land size, you see,
If you drill down the
not
data,
a necessary argument.
yes,
Very well.
you would understand. And then you see that the top suppliers, 5 suppliers of excavators to Ghana, we see that as well. Well, let's do this quickly. There's an intervention that the CEO of the Driver Vehicle License Authority, Julius Korte, wants to make.
Okay.
He's joining us on the telephone right now. So, Korte, good morning. Thank you for joining us here on KeyPoint.
Good, Ocansey. How are you doing?
I'm well. Yes, there's a quick intervention you want to make on this excavators. But how many excavators have you registered since you took office?
I just want to corroborate the points made by Lawyer Eduji, and a very good morning to all cherished viewers. Lawyer, good morning.
Morning.
What we are saying now is that if there is any government that has really done well in terms of excavator registration and tracking, maybe that is the Jomama government. From year to date, we have done 9,240.
What? 9,240.
40, yes.
You've registered excavators.
We brought registered excavators. And we brought a policy to register the ones that are already in the system and they've not been registered. That number we have done 4,905. So these excavators were in the system without registration. 4,905. And the ones at the port, we have registered 4,335.
4,335.
35 at the port. Yes, that is the port of entry. And you know, these are excavators that legitimately came in, and they are going for construction site or anything or any other place. They took permission from the Ministry of Transport before coming into Ghana. But the ones that we sent to the military installation, they don't have any permission. They don't have the Minister of Transport has not given them the right to bring them in. Hence, we've seen them and they are the military installation. So until further notice or until I receive any information from the Minister of Transport, we cannot release those excavators out. We cannot register them. But the ones we've done legitimately at the port of entry is 4,335, and inland, the ones we've registered in Ghana, they were already in Ghana without registration. We have registered them by the Mama government is 4,905. That is what we have done.
Okay, that makes up the total of the 9,240 excavators you have registered so far.
Exactly.
What role are you playing in the tracking of the excavators, so to know where they are going and what they are going to be used for? The one the president talked about.
Yeah, you know, the Minerals Commission have the mandate to do tracking. So they track, and when you go to their command center, you can see that they've apportioned them to where they are supposed to go. There's a red light on them. When they go above that, it signals them to call them to order. So these ones have been tracked. There is no way they will go on Galamsey side.
Okay.
What we are struggling now with is those on the Galamsey side that have not been registered. Yeah. And if there is anyone we have registered, that one can never be on Galamsey side, because the Minerals Commission will have the tracking device to know their whereabouts at every point in time.
Okay. Julius Korte, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yes, quick.
The ones with the military are seized. I think that statement can give him trouble, because even the president said they were moved because of congestion. And did I hear him say seized? He says the ones with the military have been seized. Clarify.
No, it's not seizure.
No, but that's what
understand it was to decongest
yes, but he's saying seizure.
Oh no, maybe he wanted to clarify that point. But for me, the take home from his presentation, arguably, is the fact that today we are able to track If you are moving into,
okay.
and we know where the
No, no, but
Galamsey things
I think
happen.
that
The regions know. You know Galamsey is not happening in Volta, at least for the time being, and it won't happen. One of the things we are all not doing here, possibly, is the role of our chiefs. I saw Domahini arresting people in Galamsey sites. Can you imagine if the chiefs in all this Galamsey community form a SAFU group?
I've said it.
Yeah.
To deal with this issue from that local conversation,
Yeah.
it makes the work of government easier.
I think that
government
point
should nationalize their land.
in the fight.
No, already gold is a national
Thank you very
thing.
much.
You're not getting
Now,
take over the land.
the engineer Dr. Kanashige
Because
was with
people
us
also
earlier.
crop
Hold
on
on,
the lands
hold on.
as well.
He's off because he has to attend to another
Very
very
well,
important event.
very
He says, Alfred, registering excavators is good but not adequate. What about the tracking of excavators
No,
that
it's been
started
done.
under the NPP? How many have been tracked? It is the tracking that would help us know where they are. Is he saying that all registered excavators are tracked? And that's the question that I asked him earlier. Thank you very much. And because we need to move on to the next issue, this is a matter that, look, it's not ending today, because this threat that we're faced with of Galamsey has to be a consistent conversation until we see the measures, enough measures put in place to nip this in the bud completely. Mr. Bento says that he doesn't see this happening. But we'll see how the coming days will play out on this fight against Galamsey. Our next issue is the former Chief Justice, Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Torkornoo. She is back in court. In fact, this is the seventh, but the first application after her removal, challenging her removal as a justice of the Supreme Court, not as Chief Justice, a justice of the Supreme Court. Because in their view, the president does not have the power to take her off in these two, but for the Chief Justice, yes, but not the Justice of the Supreme Court. She's challenging that and stated a number of reliefs that she's asking that the courts consider. This position, as espoused in this particular latest application from the former Chief Justice, is reflected in some statements that she made in that press conference she addressed during the period of the process for her removal. And this is it. Take a look.
Every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy. Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution and law in the process, and the danger it holds for the development of the nation's democracy.
That's the former Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Torkornoo. These are the reliefs that she's seeking. A declaration that the president is devoid of power to remove a justice of the Superior Court from office without recourse to the mandatory procedure set out in Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. She goes on further to detail exactly which part of Article 146 that applies in this instance of the relief that she's asking for. That there should be a declaration that jurisdiction to hear a petition for the removal of a justice of the Superior Court from office lies with a body properly constituted under Article 146(4) of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. We'll look at the dictates of Article 146(4). So stay with us. Also, a declaration that the warrant of removal executed by the president dated 1st September 2025, purporting to remove her, in this case, she, the applicant, herein from both the office of the Chief Justice and the office of a Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, is unlawful, null, void, and of no effect. Essentially that this warrant of her removal executed by the president cannot have the extension of its powers to cover the removal of a justice of a Superior Court of Judicature. Because bear in mind, the Chief Justice served 2 roles. And even prior to her removal, this conversation about if she is removed, can she still serve as a justice of the Supreme Court, is one that was rife. This warrant of her removal, as was issued or executed by the president, brought that matter to rest. And this is what she's challenging, essentially. We'll put it on the screen. This is the warrant that she mentions in her relief. Now, therefore, know ye all men, that I, John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, in pursuance of the said Article 1469, do hereby remove the said Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Torkornoo, from the office of Chief Justice and Justice of the Supreme Court. So this warrant, the powers of it applied to the 2 offices that she held, with immediate effect, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the presidential seal to be affixed at Accra this 1st September 2025. Dr. Bento, now start off with you on this. I mean, look at the demands that have been made in this relief, and I'm mindful of the limitations that we have in discussing this matter. But references have been made to past cases and the fact that aspects of the relief being sought for has already been dealt with. Does this position or the argument being espoused have the potency to alter the power of this warrant of the president, removing her as Chief Justice and also a Justice of the Supreme Court?
Right. So when you say whether something has the power to alter something, you know, we are in deep law here. And let me just...
The law is the law.
Oh, yeah, the law is the law, but honestly, it is not that obvious all the time. Yeah. So
let me, forgive me, let me acknowledge the presence of Christian Mamhesi. He's a private legal practitioner as well. This is the table of lawyers this morning. Counsel, good morning.
Now, you have engineer, right?
Yes. At least now I feel that I'm now beginning to feel, you know.
Thank you. So, thank you. Welcome. Great. Incidental.
Right. So, lawyers will say there's something which is void, ab initio, and then there's something which is voidable. So, President has done something. The lawyers will tell you, if you do something, or again, they will say you can't put something on nothing. If you do something which you don't have the authority to do, it is void ab initio. It never had power. And sometimes, given who you are as a terror, and even sometimes based on ignorance of the people it affects, people don't know that it's void, they will carry it on until somebody realizes that it is void, and then they avoid it, so it's voidable. Now, question therefore is there anything here that can be said to be void or voidable? That brings another thing into, sharp relief. And we need to understand this fundamental principle. I've been saying it all week, that in a constitutional republic, nothing is final until the justices of the land make a pronouncement on it. Unless the person decides not to take it up for judicial pronouncement or the statute of limitation runs. So you can elect a president, and the justices of the Supreme Court can sit and say that election was void. So nothing is final. That's point number 2. Void or voidable, and the finality unless there's a judicial pronouncement. Then the question is there a cause? All right? We say any fool can go to court. But the question is, will you win? Is there a cause? Is there any leg upon which somebody or something can stand? And to this extent, please, we all, first lawyers, and second the rest of the nation, have to appreciate that look. If there is room for us to expand the frontiers of law, justice, and freedom, we should never foreclose on those things. Let the process be gone through. Let every facility be exhausted, and then we can proceed. Why? There's a difference between a legal constitutional process and a political process. And we've been making the mistake in this Fourth Republic of making legal constitutional processes political processes. To the extent that when we embark on those things, the last time I was here, I call it railroading. You put the person on the railroad, the rail will determine where they will end, regardless of what the law says. It's wrong. And I'm telling you, when you have a situation where legal processes are made into political processes, you go straight to become a banana republic. It's happening in other countries now where the justices don't have any say. The president says something and then they just come and rubber stamp it. We lawyers know the case of Marbury and Madison. And why that is important for the rest of the public is this. When some people in their power do something, even where they believe it is right, okay, in another case where there was the Marbury and Madison situation, the justices of the Supreme Court sat down and went beyond what those people had done, stopped it, and did what was right. And therefore seized power to determine finally how things may be done. I'm saying all these things because I hear people talk about, oh, Madam Torkornoo, why is she still struggling? Why does she want to come back? Why is she's disgracing herself? And I got into trouble when I said that some of these emotive, okay, suggestions and unsolicited advice and all those things, they don't help expand the frontiers of law. So let me come to the substantive issue now. It is in the Constitution that there's a separate process for appointing a justice of the Supreme Court. And there's a separate process for appointing the Chief Justice, who is the Supreme Justice of the Supreme Court. 2, there is a separate process for removing the Chief Justice. And there's a separate process for removing a justice of the Supreme Court. One is CJ, one is JSC. Okay? And so on and so forth. There's a reason why these things are there.
The oath taking.
Yes, the oath, you go for a different, parliament, everything. Look, it is not for nothing. Okay? Now, and there is a lacuna. There is a situation where that determination has not been emphatically made. My brother here, Martin, and I don't have to tell you I respect Martin. He's my lawyer and I'm his lawyer. But when we disagree, it's on principle. Earlier on, we were on radio and afterwards, we're still discussing the matter. This whole week.
We discussed it.
We keep talking. But the point is that he sent me something which was extremely persuasive. I read it and then later I read. Then I realized that section that he sent me, which said those things, were obiter. And again, I said we are in hard law, so please permit us. It wasn't a ratio. So when you have a case in court, there is what is called a ratio decidendi. The main reasons why the decision is made the way it is made. And then after that main decision, there are other things that are said around the issue. What causes or creates a precedence which is binding on other courts is the ratio decidendi. Is the ratio. However, the arbiter has persuasive effect, but it is not precedent creating. So I pointed out to my brother Martin that, look, somebody in the ratio had said that, oh, if you remove Chief Justice, then hey, you have removed this one. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he referenced decided cases, you know, on this particular matter.
That is why I'm going through ratio and this thing.
Yes.
That, you see, that case, somebody made a passing remark. And it's arbiter. Arbiter does not create precedents. Let me explain to you why. When a case is before the court, the justices go into the merits of that case. They don't examine other things as much as they examine what is called the issues. So in ratio, the issues are dealt with. But arbiter, it is said in passing. And many times, arbiter makes sense. Because they say, hey, if they remove your Chief Justice, then they've removed you have this so. And the person was trying to say that, look, it is a serious matter, so please, be careful how you deal with it. Because once the person is removed as this, it could mean that they are removed as this. And let me also make the last point before I go into another matter. When they say somebody may do something, or an action may lead to something, in law, it also means that action may not lead to that thing. May swings both ways. Okay, we have to do all these things now because we need to understand that when you have these kinds of situations where they are not clear, let the law be gone through. Justice Torkornoo is saying something simple. He's saying...
So are you going to the next point? Because
I'm going to the next point, yes. I'm going to the Constitution itself.
Describe Justice Amadou Tanko's...
Let me finish this point, please. I beg you.
In this particular issue, because then...
I beg you, I can't think about that now. Let me finish this point. Only this point.
Yes.
There is a separate process for removing a superior court judge. The composition of the committee that removes a superior court judge is different from the composition that removes a Supreme Court judge. So the point is being made that even though we have all been thinking that, oh, this knocks out this, one bullet kills two things, one stone kills two birds, it is not so. And the framers of the Constitution did not design it as such. So please, at the least, if a reason takes out the Supreme Court justice, okay, which comes through a separate committee, Constitution Committee, that reason cannot take out the Chief Justice, clearly, because a different committee has to be set to deal with that. In the same way, if that different committee sets, and if you permit me, I'll read it, it's in 146, a different committee set to remove the Chief Justice, a different committee has to be set. And if they like, they can take those same reasons and go through that process also to remove the person as a justice of the Supreme Court. There is a case there. There is a point there.
Okay, so 1464 is what you referenced. I'm going to put that on the screen right now. So are you saying that in this Frank Ejechum case, which has actually been the reference point for this entire process and why the Chief Justice cannot serve as a justice of the Superior Court after being removed as Chief Justice is an arbiter in meaning?
Yes.
And so does not necessarily apply in whole?
Yes.
That in the reasoning of Justice Amadou Tanko, that, quote, I have arrived at the conclusion that this application must fail without relish, mindful of the fact that the applicant, the Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic, is going through a process that may define her career on the bench as Chief Justice and as a judge of the Supreme Court or the Superior Court. Then there is also this Ejechum case as well, where Dateba also gave what you would call the lead opinion of the Supreme Court, and Justice Sophia Akufo actually concurred in that regard. And you're saying all of this are arbiter and cannot apply in whole?
So my colleagues here will tell you that, yes, Justice Tanko's statement was arbiter. And he said, we need to be careful when we are dealing with this because it may define her career as a justice of the Supreme Court and maybe lead to the removal. And I've explained that when somebody says it may define her career, it is true that it will actually define her career. If you are moved from here to there, it puts a certain mark on you. But if you say it may also affect her as a justice of the Supreme Court, it also means it may not affect her as a justice of the Supreme Court. So we are being careful here. And the last time I said we need to be very sober about some of these things. If we don't like the Constitution as it is, do what Martin Kpebu did. Or whoever. Go make a case and let's get an amendment. But we have a situation where the thing is written there, it has the force of law, it is what we are living our lives by, which is why I make the distinction between a political process and a legal process. If we go by the legal process, the law is the law. And we have to have fidelity to the law. You don't agree with it, amend it. But if it is what is there, do what the law says. And the law says you can't remove a justice of the Supreme Court unless by a certain specific process. And to that extent, look, there are many other things, okay, which this occasion may give rise for us to look at them again and go deeper into them. For instance, this whole issue about prima facie, which Ejejum dealt with, okay, I have read and I have here the testimony of Nana Dr. S.K.B. Asante. And he has made it emphatically clear that that prima facie requirement is so fundamental and so crucial that if it is not respected, the whole process is null and void. He used the term, it is fatal to the process. These are serious. And it's not me. This is Nana Susubibi, KB Asante. All right? Gentlemen, we are trying to
say.
I can give it to you if you want. But
in the report of the Committee of Experts for the Constitution.
This is his witness statement. Okay.
Okay.
And it's here.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm saying, don't take my word. Nation building is a slow, but has to be a deliberate process.
Okay.
And you know about ad hominem approaches. You look at somebody, you like or don't like the person, so you approach in a certain way. And I'm saying a political process by Edwidji and Co. And Edwidji wears two hats. When he's doing his politics, different. When he's doing his law, different. Tomorrow, these same things will be applied somewhere. We missed an opportunity in Charlotte's case. If we had been more careful and gone about it the way I am suggesting now, a bit more deliberate and stop looking at the politics and the politicians of that time who railroaded Charlotte, okay, we may have arrived at a different conclusion here and may have been a bit more careful. So, if you say Nana Susubibi says, Dr. S.K.B. Asante says that the original process was fatal, what it means is it was void ab initio.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that the prima facie requirements were not gone into. So, you know, because of time. Yeah.
But the Supreme Court says, the Supreme Court says failure to give reasons for a prima facie doesn't make the case void. That's Chachuchi Kete's case. Over 20 years ago, 2003, 2004 Supreme Court. Chachuchi Kete went to the Supreme Court that the failure of the trial to give reasons for saying that there's a prima facie case, so he should open his defense, makes the case void. The Supreme Court said, no. It just
but
means
that's too far. Republic versus Michael Asamoah.
Are we talking about the removal of a chief justice?
No, I'm just talking about prima facie, criminal, liberty.
Yes. Hold on.
Let me make my point. See, so, let the justices who are more experienced than us and have the actual office to do this, take these matters, go in chambers, deliberate, and then come and tell us finally how we proceed on this. Because if Nana Susubibi says that absent a prima facie determination of the Council of State...
Was it absent?
Wait, let me finish.
Yes,
Because you see, when you say something is present but it is only with you, it must be give the person the thing. No, wait. Was she given that?
That's the reasons. She was given
It's not the
communication that there is
reason.
but no explanation.
So, you see, what we are doing is why this matter should go to the justices.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not getting me. My point is, we can't agree on this. And I'm saying, a very serious person is saying, not doing that is fatal.
No,
so I'm simply saying,
said otherwise.
I'm
so
saying,
it's not what SKB Asante says.
Well, you are not hearing my point is the fact that we disagree is the reason why it must go before the
agreement. The law has been clear that if you fail to give reasons, it just shows you are biased, you are thoughtless, there's malice.
Okay, so
that's what the Supreme Court said. So you can make those allegations
Dr. SKB Asante says that it is this. And I'm saying you are clear in your mind it is not so. Unfortunately, this is not a Supreme Court bench.
The Supreme Court has pronounced twice on failure to give.
Mr. Benton, what would be the implication of the removed Chief Justice still sitting on the bench as a justice of the Superior Court because of what led to her removal? That is stated misbehavior. She's been removed as Chief Justice, then she's still sitting on the bench as a Superior Court judge.
I don't understand what you mean by what would be the implication. The person has been a judge for over 20 years, risen to the topmost office. Yeah. To the topmost office. Okay. Now, she is elevated to perform additional administrative duties. Has nothing to do with her competence and experience as a judge. In other words, she is not in any way incapacitated from performing her duties as a judge. Now, during the performance of her administrative duties, the persons in charge of accounting, the heads of finance and whatever it is, approved for her to do something which previous Chief Justices had been doing. And she did it.
But that doesn't make it right.
Let me answer the question, please. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm simply saying that something like this happens. The only institution in this country which is legally mandated in our constitution, the Auditor General's Department, audited that action, raised questions, and the questions were answered. In their final report, they took that issue out and published the final report that this is not an issue. In previous situations where it has happened, it never was an issue. In other situations where similar things have happened, the highest punishment was a refund. And it was not something that goes to the heart of the performance of her duties as a judge. And the matter had been rested. Then a committee which does not have the same level of authority and expertise as the whole Auditor General's Department resurrects the settled matter, uses it, even though it is not judicial and does not go to her competence as a judge, to remove her as Chief Justice.
Well,
wait, let me answer your question.
Yes.
I just need to explain to arrive, and I hope, I'm rushing. So, in answering your question, there is no impediment to her continuing to perform her duties as a justice of the Supreme Court. But the issue is, what would the optics be like? And I'm saying optics are not law.
Okay.
Optics are not law. But if that is what we want, let's change the law. But today, as it stands, there is a cause for Chief Justice Torkornoo to make the points that she's making. So let it be a legal process, not a political process. If there are opportunities in the law to expand this further, let us go through it and let things fall where they may. But let us not foreclose it.
By all means, there has to be some declaration on this.
There has to be, for our future sake.
Right. I asked a question premised on Article 128 because you referenced the fact that to the extent that, yes, she has been removed as Chief Justice, but then again, that power does not extend to her removal as a justice of the Superior Court. I referenced the basis for her removal, that is stated misbehavior. You say optics is not law.
Yes.
But let's reference what the law says in 1284, specific to who qualifies to be appointed as a justice of the Supreme Court. A person shall not be qualified for the appointment as a justice of the Supreme Court unless he is of high, in this case he or she, is of high moral character and proven integrity, and is of not less than 15 years standing as a lawyer and so on. The emphasis is on high moral character and proven integrity.
Yeah.
To the extent that she was removed on the basis of stated misbehavior, that she still qualify to satisfy the requirement of high moral character and proven integrity?
In my view, that was never proven, because the fundamental issue itself, I would have no surprise if Chief Justice Torkornoo challenges that original decision. So to that extent, that it could be challenged, and like I've said, it's not final until it is pronounced on. So to the extent that there is doubt there, then her integrity has not been challenged. That is number one. Number two, 128 is about appointment. It's about how you get into the office. Again, law is law. There is a separate process for appointment and separate requirements for appointment. When you jump that hurdle, you've jumped it. And then there's a separate process for removal. All right? This has to do with how you get in. She's already gotten in. She has achieved it. She's passed this test. And you cannot now use this test for her removal. And if the removal, assuming without admitting, that proved that she didn't have whatever high moral, it still is not grounds for removal.
It's not grounds for
It's not grounds for removal.
Why is that?
The removal has to go through the process. And when the process is gone through and they have arrived at that conclusion, it is after that conclusion that then we have those grounds. And I'm saying, to the extent that it is still not final, because I said I wouldn't be surprised if Chief Justice Torkornoo, and I've told you because of what Nana Susubibi, Asante and Co have said, that determination itself, the composition and other things, may challenge that. Okay? So, until that is final, it is not final. And let us not use 128, because at this point, we are using removal processes. Okay? Now, when she's removed, we've already talked about the fact that she can remove as CJ.
Yes.
Because that's administrative on top of those things. There is the other issue of whether she's also removed as JSC.
Yes, I reference 128 in the context that she's been removed as a justice of the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And she's seeking that that power be quashed, essentially, because it's null and void of no effect. So she is reinstating that position that she deserves to be a justice of the Supreme Court. I reference this based on the qualities that a justice of the Supreme Court should have as enshrined in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And the basis for her removal. You say that has not been proven.
And what I'm saying is that if even you say so, and it is not so, because I don't know, but I think that could be challenged, the removal process must be gone through. So, for instance, with all due respect, if you catch her doing something, which on the face of it, okay, renders her unfit to be a Chief Justice, you don't say, oh, I caught her doing ABC, and because of that, you still go through the process, bring those facts down, and let them be adjudicated, and then the decision will be made. I hope you're getting me. So there is substantive justice, there is procedural justice. I think what we're talking about here is procedural justice. That the fact that you think, that is why even when we catch somebody stealing, the person is not locked up until you take them through a criminal trial. So, in short, I'm saying it still does not open that door. And that door is a door for removal. And the removal requires that a certain process be gone through. Me, Kofi Bento, what I am simply saying is, I want the process to be gone through.
True.
Because I see a situation where we are using political processes to railroad people and just simply applying the law as a vehicle. And I don't think it is good. We've seen it during Charlotte's time when Samson brought this matter there. If we had been careful to look at it and go through things and come out with some of these things. And by the way, 296 applies in some of these things also. You know, we need to expand the law and make it clearer. Okay? And let's take this opportunity to do so. I have said and I repeat, what Justice Torkornoo is doing is to our benefit as a country more than to her benefit as an individual. And I think we must have the patience to allow her to exhaust all her remedies, so, whether you like her or not.
Right. So by all means, no matter how anyone feels about the disposition of the removed Chief Justice, to the extent that this removal of a sitting Chief Justice is unprecedented, all such applications for clarity in the position of Kofi Bento must be encouraged so that there's a finality on the matter, because in his position, all references to pronouncements of this particular relief that the Chief Justice is seeking, or the removed Chief Justice is seeking, are arbiters, to say the least. Does not necessarily create solid precedents to raise questions about the reliefs that she's seeking in her application. Why do you hold a different view?
Okay, so once again, I think that we are just going in circle. The Chief Justice herself now removed, appreciates what the law is. At this point, all that she's engaged in is what the lawyers would call forum shopping.
Why do you describe that forum shopping?
Look, every aspect of this matter, she's gotten one way or the other a court to pronounce on it. It is her dissatisfaction with the judicial pronouncement that she's running around with. First of all, and I've always maintained, there's nothing new under this sun. My senior Bento talks about obiter. I don't know exactly what he's referring to. Frank Ajechum's decision is extremely comprehensive. If you look at the law report itself, it has the more detailed portion of it than what we have in soft. This is what, may he so rest in peace, Justice Modibo Okran had to say in the Frank Ajechum decision in concurring.
I think we have that. We'll put that on the screen right now.
He says, quote, with no such gap filling, one is left with only Article 1461. And since the removal of the Chief Justice of Ghana from office is pegged to the same set of grounds as any other Supreme Court judge, the Chief Justice, upon removal, will, by implication, also lose his position as a judge. As unfortunate as the consequence will be for our hypothetical judicial brain turned disastrous administrator, I would have to agree with the plaintiff's position. That's not an obiter. That's ratio. But that also makes me wary of any interpretation of Article 1466 that will make it easier to remove the Chief Justice on courts. So that is clear without ambiguity.
And do you have the plaintiff's position to read?
No, I'm coming. I'll come.
Just read what the plaintiff said.
No, hold on. Wait. Because do you know why? At that time, Brata Kwete wanted Chief Justice Akwa removed.
Yeah.
And that is what caused, what shall I say, Frank Ajechum to intervene at the Supreme Court. Not only did he want him removed as the Chief Justice, he also wanted him removed as a Justice of the Superior Court. Do you know why? Because the Supreme Court, in reading Article 1281, what does it say? Let me just read Article 1281. And it brings everything into proper perspective. It says, quote, the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other justices of the Supreme. So she is first and foremost a justice of the Supreme Court and a Chief Justice. It is not all. It's not disjoint. So that you will say that she is a Chief Justice, Chief Justice. No. She is first a justice of, and so if you read Article 128, you can put it out there. Article 1281. It says, quote, the Supreme Court shall consist of the Chief Justice and not less than 9 other. 9 other. Because what it means is that she has the same characteristic as the other 9 judges. That's what it is. And so once you are removed, your umbilical cord, the cord, is completely taken, detached
But if that's the case, why does the Constitution specifically state the process for the
I'm coming
removal
there. I'm coming there.
of
You should
a
have read this
superior
one.
court of
Please, please.
It
Senior,
says may
senior,
only
senior.
be removed.
Please,
no,
please,
when you
please.
read add it.
Senior.
This
wait.
is the Constitution.
Wait.
1462. It says
First of all, nobody reads
We are learning.
constitutional text in isolation.
No,
It
but
says
that's
shall
the
not
point.
be removed from office except on shall not be.
So
Wait.
see,
When you were submitting, when you were submitting for good
You just said
reasons,
it should be done as a whole.
so I'm coming there.
Without this,
So I'm coming there.
Hold on.
I'm coming there.
1462.
In Frank Ajay-Chum, the court, hold on.
Very strong.
The
We'll
court,
reference 1462.
Yes.
This is what hold on.
the Ajay-Chum decision was not a cavalier decision. The court construed other constitutional provisions, and in a very interesting manner, even imported provisions just to make meaning of the Constitution. Why? The issue of prima facie was never an attachment relative to that of a Chief Justice. My Lord Justice Databa then said, quote, because she is also a Supreme Court judge, if in the case of a Supreme Court judge, you are making a prima facie, then attach the same thing to her. Is it not in the reasoning?
And go through the process.
So how suddenly you are creating a constitutional dissonance?
And go through the process.
You don't do that in doing interpretation.
Okay, hold on.
Please hold on.
Why the reference to 1462?
May not.
A justice of the Superior Court
Yes.
of Judicature. Please hold on. Yes. Or a chairman of the regional tribunal may only be removed in accordance with the procedure specified in this article.
It is there. And
It is the reference.
Why are you doing this?
Hold on.
Senior.
Hold on.
First of all, you see, even this one came by under the attack. So if you read this provision, the Supreme Court's attention was drawn to this provision. And my Lord Databa said, listen, this one says that a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, like any ordinary Supreme Court judge, High Court, Court of Appeal, should be removed by the procedure specified here.
Yes.
And this procedure includes the determination, prima facie determination. Then Databa said, look, when it comes to the Chief Justice, you don't find that expression relative to the Chief Justice.
Okay.
That is what got Databa to say that to the extent that...
Gentlemen, please.
Yes.
We have a serious technical situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Let's go for a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
Okay.
Stay with us.
It's go time.
Unfortunately, every step of the removal process being undertaken against me is being done in a manner that breaks every rule on how justice is delivered in our country. And this is why I find the need to draw the nation's attention to the serious violations of the Constitution.
Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We sincerely apologize for that break in the sound of the last 20 minutes. I thank a number of you, our viewers. We had an avalanche of calls. Superintendent Alexander Obing and all these people who came through. Thank you. Thank you very much. That it just reflects the increasing following that we have on Saturdays, and
our audience is growing.
I want to thank the many of you, and we sincerely apologize for this break in transmission. The most important thing is that we're back. And
let me just do a quick one.
Yes.
So the point I was making is that if you look at Article 128 of the Constitution, 128 says that the composition of the Supreme Court shall the Chief Justice and 9 other justices. So first of all, she is first seen as a judge of the Supreme Court, then a Chief Justice. So it is one and the same. It is just the performance. So when it comes to the Chief Justice, she has an elevated administrative role added to. And so if you look in the Ajechum decision, my Lord Justice Databa then took the view that in reading 146, what you see is, it says, like you just showed, 1462.
Let's put that 146.
It says that a superior court judge and the chair of the regional tribunal may be removed in accordance with the procedure specified in this article. And the procedure includes a determination, a prima facie, and all of those things. You understand?
A different composition of a
Please hold on. Please calm down, step by step. So whereas 146, 1 and 2 says that unless in accordance with the procedure specified, that procedure includes the prima facie determination. However, when it comes to Chief Justice, it jumps and does not make any reference to prima facie determination. So when it got there, Justice Databa then says no. Even though there's no specific reference of the word prima facie relative to that of the Chief Justice, because she is first a judge of the Superior Court before a Chief Justice, that process should apply. And that is how that mischief was cured in the Frank Ajechum decision.
Right.
It's instructive to note that if you read further the Frank Ajechum decision.
So that position cannot be described as an arbiter?
No. It was a main argument. And now I want to go back to the legal submission my senior Nana Santi Bedietu made in the Ajechum decision. Because you will notice that in Ajechum, the argument Ajechum canvassed were agreed. It's what the Supreme Court finally brought finality to. Now, I want to read the argument that was made by the lawyer, Nana Santi Bedietu. It reads in paragraph, it starts from paragraph 10. It said, because the Chief Justice is a judge and the chairman of the regional tribunal, the Constitution in its wisdom provides that the Chief Justice can only be removed from office on the same grounds as that of any other judge or the chairman of the regional tribunal, and it reads, quote, stated misbehavior, incompetence, grounds of inability. Now, 11, this is the argument. Thus, the Constitution makers by the expression shall not be removed from office except prohibits the removal of a justice of the Superior Court or regional tribunal from office on any ground other than the one stated in Article 146. a Chief Justice, now this is instructive, a Chief Justice being a Justice of the Superior Court can only be removed from office on the ground set up in Article 1461 and no other ground.
And what are the grounds?
Now listen. So I'm coming. 146 deals with 1461 deals with stated misbehavior, incompetence, inability. And in the case of Torkornoo, she was removed on stated misbehavior. The argument on incompetence was rejected by the committee. Now, most importantly, 12. These are the arguments being put before the Supreme Court by Bedie 2. The Constitution does not provide any separate and distinct grounds other than those set out in Article 1461 for removing the Chief Justice, qua Chief Justice, from office. Thus, under the Constitution, a Chief Justice cannot be removed as a justice from office and remain on the bench as a justice of the Superior Court. He can rather be removed from office on the same ground as justice of the Superior Court. Now listen to Justice Modibo Okran. In response to this beautiful argument by Bedie 2, he says, personally, I do not agree with you. It's unfortunate, but that is the law. And so,
that's what Professor Justice
Modibo Okran, may his soul rest in peace. In his reasoning,
that's what you say there. He said, as unfortunate as the consequences will be for our hypothetical judicial brain, turned disastrous administrator, I would have to agree with the plaintiff's position, but that also
and the plaintiff position was canvassed by the lawyer Nana Santi Bedie too.
He continues. That also makes me wary of any interpretation of Article 1466 that will make it so easy to remove the Chief Justice.
And so, you see, even at that time, there was some apprehension by the judges that it would be so easy to remove a Chief Justice.
Yes.
But the court said, look, this is what the plaintiff is saying. Yes. Regardless of our emotional attachment with whatever or sentiments, we believe this is the law.
What the plaintiff is saying is the law.
Yes, what the plaintiff is saying is the law.
The law is the law.
And agreed. So it cannot be suggested, even remotely on this platform, that was an obiter.
But I think
extremely. In fact, it would be completely disingenuous to do that. What is even instructive is the idea here that the view of Nana Asante Krobia, SKB, who was only a member of the Committee of Experts. The Committee of Experts did not write the Constitution. In fact, most of their proposals were rejected.
You're making a different argument, please.
No. What I'm saying is that
evidence to the committee. I'm not talking about his.
No, I agree. But what I'm even saying now, even at that time.
No, this is about his testimony to this.
Yeah, you are not getting my point. I'm saying that, you see, even what he's saying now was rejected. It is not sacrosanct. So the whole idea that the views expressed by way of his testimony carries more strength than. But you see, my Lord Justice Amadou Tanko, in the injunction application by her ladyship, the Chief Justice, addressed this issue of prima facie determination and the absence of reasoning. Yes, in the injunction matter. You see, people are confusing two issues. There were different matters that came before the Supreme Court. There was one that she herself found.
Yes.
There was one by the civil society group, SEGIS or something.
Yes, and then there is
exactly. So
that's the Civil Center for Elections or Censure.
Yes.
Censure. Now, you see, if you come to Justice Amadou Tanko's reasoning on the issue of whether or not the prima facie should be embedded. This is what he said, and I just want to read that portion. That's paragraph 43. He said, the next ground on which the applicant invites the court to restrain the committee is that the prima facie determination was not judicious, as it was rendered without reasons. I have cautioned myself against prejudicing the substantive relief sought in this action. However, it is not in doubt the applicant herself has acknowledged the existence of a prima facie determined, however described. Whether the form or contents of that prima facie determination rendered it nullity due to the allegation of absence of reasoning is a matter to be determined at the substantive hearing. Be that as it may, I am not oblivious of the jurisprudence from the court that a judgment rendered without reason is by all means a judgment. And then proceeded. Whilst it is the interest of justice that reasons accompany judicial or quasi-judicial outcome, there is no known jurisprudence in our court to the effect that a decision rendered without detailed reason is thereby a nullity. This holds especially true when the prima facie is said to have been made without reason, but which may merely requires adversary to present a defense. And in this case, she appeared before the committee and defended herself. In the relief that she is seeking by way of judicial relief, nowhere does she challenge the prima facie determination. She had moved on from that argument. Her argument now has to do with the fact that she detaches herself, the office of Chief Justice and that of a Justice of the Superior Court. And now says that to the extent that she had been removed as a Chief Justice, she remains as a Justice of the Superior Court. That is what you see in her relief. That is what you see in her relief, without more. So let it not be stated that A, B, C, D, because of that you cannot. My learned senior Kofi Bentele, making his submission, said, look, the matters raised in the petition are matters that were dealt with by the Auditor General, and for that matter, quote unquote, the committee cannot make a determination into it. More or less, they have become fontus with no power, more or less, to like a judicial review of the Auditor General's report, more or less. Please. I want to use one example. If you look at the Public Procurement Act, Senior, you will notice that Sections 1991 provides what you do when the allegation of breaches of the Procurement Act. You remember? It says that a committee, an investigative team shall be put together, investigate everything, and once the investigative team, the authority can recommend ratification. It can recommend rectification. It can actually recommend any of those. So I remember when the issue of Charlotte Osei came up, the argument some of us raised was that since the allegations do not deal with her work as electoral commissioner, qua electoral, or the chairperson, and deals with borderline action, procurement, we should permit her to stay. Because then her function as a chairperson of the commission has not in any way been violated. The argument that were the resistance at that point was the fact that no, the procurement issues are antecedents. They come together with the office. And so if there's any allegation of breaches of same or violation of same, that constitutes stated misbehavior. I was in court the day Malik Kweku Baku and Samson Ladi, obviously being led by Samson Ladi Ayenene, came to court. What was their relief? One, that to the extent that the grounds of A, B, C, D, they do not touch to the core function of the commissioner or chairperson. Two, that the absence of a CI to regulate the work of the committee renders the committee's work effectively a nullity. Two issues effectively. When it came up, the Attorney General then, the Deputy AG, Mr. Godfrey Ebu Adame, represented the AG in court that day. And some saying Mr. Kweku Baku. The court raised the issue of jurisdiction and asked, these matters in your relief, To what extent do they deal with constitutional interpretation under Article 2 of the Constitution? They asked lawyers to address them. I remember vividly the words of my Lord Justice Nene Amegache to Samson. He asked him, counsel, are you saying a public officer who has violated the Procurement Act is not a stated misbehavior? In open court. And that is how the court ended up throwing.
What did the procurement authority say?
Please. Okay. At that time, there was no investigation. So our argument was that since the statute had provided a remedy, that remedy ought to have been followed first, concluded on the matter, and advised that this one you can't even do ratification. On that grounds, you can proceed to remove her. And so the petition to President Nana Akufo-Addo was premature. That was the argument. The court asked something. I remember vividly. My Lord Justice Nene Amegache. He asked him, what sayest thou? And that is how the court ended up dismissing, throwing away the suit Mr. Kweku Baako brought to challenge the removal. It has also been suggested, and I'll maybe conclude on this, that absence a CI pursuant to Article 296 renders everything a nullity. That argument has been made. You see, thankfully, again, nothing new under the sun. When President Mahama pardoned the Muntie 3, my senior early claim, Agbamava, and senior Tuya Yebua issued separate rates at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court consolidated it. My Lord Justice Bene rendered a judgment of the court. In one of the relief, they said, because Article 72 raises the issue the president may pardon, what it means is that it brings into sharp focus Article 296C. And since the president is not a judge, he ought to publish a CI to regulate. The same argument that has been made, that in making the prima facie determination, the president and the council of state, they not being judges, ought to have a CI to regulate. 2, that the president may suspend pending the determination, the president exercises discretion, and so there ought to be a CI. This is how the Supreme Court resolved that matter in the early claim Agbamava and Attorney General. My Lord Justice Bennett then said, he said, when the decision maker is taking a decision in accordance with, in consultation with, there is no further requirement for a CI. And that the reason for that CI, pursuant to Article 296, is to cure the issue of arbitrariness and to ensure fairness. And so to the extent that in the Muntie 3, the decision to pardon is a decision flowing from consultation with the Council of State, the argument, be it colorful, attractive, that there ought to be a CI is without merit. And that is how that decision was rendered.
In fact, because
I find it extremely curious. Any argument founded on the ground that, one, there was no SCI, so
yes,
she couldn't have
been. The GBA has
so I am dovetailing that conversation into it. Look, the Ghana Bar Association, with respect, the creme de la creme.
We'll get there.
Very well.
We still have things to share about this.
I will yield to Mom.
Let me bring in Christian Mamhesi on this matter, and then I'll have Laya Matipebo as well. When you look at page 804 of the Prophet Justice Modibo Okran's reasoning in this matter of Franka Diechum versus the AG, it's interesting. One aspect of a question that he raises, and I'm going to read that because it flows from something that Ejudi Tamaklo referenced, that an interesting inferential question arises, and I quote, let's put that on the screen. It says, since the grounds for the removal of the Chief Justice, and this goes on, let's go back. It says, since the grounds of the removal of the Chief Justice are placed at par with the removal of the other justices of the superior courts, can the Chief Justice continue to sit as an ordinary member of the Supreme Court after being removed as a Chief Justice?
Yes. He analyzed and said
And he analyzed and said no. How is that an obiter?
Suppose he or she was removed due to incompetence as an administrator. That's all. But the person had a track record as a superb judge. Let's go on, please. Suppose he or she was removed due to incompetence as an administrator, but the person had a track record as a superb judge before being elevated to the position of Chief Justice. Let us say he or she was simply a terrible administrator. Why cannot such a person come back to his regular Supreme Court position and continue with his outstanding judicial performance? Yeah. He goes on, say, the plaintiff has attempted a response to this question, and he references the paragraph that you read.
Exactly, and people are saying obiter.
No, some of it is obiter.
No,
this one I hear. Let's go. This is quite Korean. But you please make your point. Some of it is obiter.
Even the one that they imported the French provision into the Constitution.
Let him talk.
I mean, I am of the humble opinion that, given the fact that, and I'll not depart so much from my learned senior, because with law, it deals with the beam balance, and lawyers would always have two opinions. And so for me, I am of the humble view that the Chief Justice, just like the Superior Court Justices, goes through appointments, they go through the review of, through the vetting process, then to Parliament for approval, and then the President carries out the constitutional mandate of putting them there. Again, when it comes to the removal, there's also a stated procedure. You know, Article 146 has two limbs. It first deals with the removal of the Superior Court Justices through the Chief Justice establishing prima facie, and then a committee and all of that. And then the second limb also deals with the Chief Justice being removed. And now in Ghana, we must have become pocket lawyers, so we know what that entails. You know. Then, so the critical issue comes up if the Chief Justice, who hitherto was a member of the justices, elevated to that particular position, if the person is removed on stated misbehavior or incompetence, what happens to that person? Given the fact that, I hold that given the fact that the person carries on or carries through with administrative functions, if the person is demoted, it cannot be that the justice would also lose that primary role that he or she played as a justice of the Supreme Court, in terms that Article 146(2) indicates to specified procedures that ought to be followed, so that in all these situations, I mean, these two cases mentioned and the dissent of these justices, I am of the opinion that this particular case by her leadership, Justice Torkornoo, would finally cement, it will now settle, it will be a settled law.
But the thing is settled.
No, it takes, you know, when it comes to principles.
So in your view, the references made by Lloyd Jamaklo in the Frank case, Aban case, even the Justice Torkornoo's case, that's not at all. It does not answer.
Because if you look at the thrust of those cases, it was not the main.
What do you mean by it wasn't the main?
If you look at the Chum case, he brought the reliefs. Look at the reliefs. If you could put the reliefs of the Frank J. Chum case, you look at the release, and the court granted that in fact. Definitely, other areas were touched on, and my lords had to make certain pronouncements on it. And I'm saying that this particular case that we have at hand will finally give the court the final position on this matter. Hopefully, and when it is nailed, it now becomes part of our common law.
And the Supreme Court decision no good precedent.
No,
Can't they depart from it?
The court has the judicial function.
But until they depart,
hold on. Let me hear.
In settling this score, fine once and for all, the court could decide on one part, because definitely we are yet to see. It could be a unanimous decision. It could be in ratio. So when it is settled and when they depart, it will be stare decisis, because the Supreme Court can depart on its own decisions made. And when this one is determined, it is going to help future precedents, or I mean, it's going to help precedents.
Are you hopeful of a departure?
Well, yes, why not?
Are you hopeful of a departure?
Hold on.
The Supreme Court does not give advice.
But the politicians may anticipate that.
But this is law.
For me, as a lawyer, I would want to see that the area of law is settled.
Yes.
It creates certainty in law already.
So the area of law has not.
Yes.
The area of law has not been settled on this matter. There's no precedence on this. There's no precedence on this.
There's no precedent to where a chief justice has been removed as a chief justice and retained, and he or she is seeking to challenge that. Once you've taken me off as a chief justice,
at the time the Supreme Court,
you have to know. Hold on.
We are not permitted to do what my learned friend is doing. The Supreme Court judgment, even if the president disobeys a judgment of the Supreme Court, is grounds for his removal.
You are not being heard.
It's grounds for his removal.
You are not being heard. Make your point.
Yeah, so my point is so simple that definitely with varying opinions, it is tried to have this matter settled, and it becomes precedent. The right for one to assess his or her legal right cannot be fettered by anything.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Lamati, on this, and in the view of the dissenting persons on this table, let's just establish the fact that, as you've referenced continuously, we are not a bench.
Yes,
obviously. But then again, there is the room for the expression of opinions on this. Or is there any uncertainty about the position of the law on this matter of when a Chief Justice is removed? Can she still serve as a Justice of the Superior Court?
There is no ambiguity at all. There is no doubt, all right, from all the cases so far, especially starting from Ejechu, where that matter was very much at play, that when a person is removed as a Chief Justice, that person loses the office of a Supreme Court judge as well. There's no doubt at all. Listen, let's go over this. Asante Ejechu and his father went to court. Okay, they represented Ejechu. Let's go over the argument. Eduji read it, but let's read it again. Of course, when I was coming this morning, I wanted to read it because some lawyers are saying it's obita. When we say obita, so they are trying to say that it didn't concern those statements that the Supreme Court made. Were not necessary for resolving the case that Ejechu brought. So I mean that it was irrelevant. It's just that they were talking. I mean, just expounding law, but it's not relevant. Listen, they made their argument. They say the Constitution does not provide any separate and distinct grounds other than those set out in Article 1461 for removing the Chief Justice, qua Chief Justice, that's as Chief Justice from office. Thus, under the Constitution, a Chief Justice cannot be removed as a Chief Justice from office and remain on the bench as a Justice of the Superior Court. He can rather be removed from office on the same grounds as a Justice of the Superior Court and by implication lose his position as a Chief Justice. You see, they said and by implication lose his position as a Chief Justice. And that's why Modibo Okran said, yes, what you are saying is right. And now you turn back and say, no, nobody asked the Supreme Court to make such determination. If you didn't put the argument there, would they be answering you? That was the argument that was made. ADG read it. We are reading for emphasis. You sent the argument there. Did anybody put a gun to Ejechum's head and his lawyers to make that argument? They thought it was relevant for the case, and so they made it. No. And then you come to what Dateban. So we read Modibo Okran. Dateban is the one who gave the lead opinion. So let's see what he says at that side. Let's come here. So Dateban says at page 775. Page 775. Let's go to the last paragraph. He says, as far as the Chief Justice is concerned, I think it is reasonable to link his conduct of his administrative responsibilities with his position as a justice of all the superior courts. So you see, that the bar says they are linked. Justices of the superior court are required to adhere by, maybe now we'll say to, certain judicial ethics, which can be infringed by the conduct of a Chief Justice. You see? So he said justices of the superior courts are required to adhere to certain judicial ethics, right? Which can be infringed by the conduct of a Chief Justice in the performance of his administrative acts. You see it? So that's it. So you are acting as Chief Justice, but certain conducts also affect your, what do you call it, conduct as a judge. And what do we say here? Here we've lost 367,000 Ghana cedis because Chief Justice signed for that money to be given to her husband and to be given to her daughter, the per diems and the tickets, all that. So we're saying it's illegal. In actual fact, what the committee is saying is that there was no right whatsoever to take that money for the Chief Justice family. It's very grievous. Look, we are even being very charitable. That's why I keep saying the more you push this point, then the more you would cause people to go and file criminal charges. Somebody will go and file. Yes.
How you talk about criminal?
Yes, criminal charges. Because the Chief Justice herself, the Chief Justice herself in the abroad near DC case, the presidential spouses, she said no. Article 71 is very clear. Wives of presidents and vice presidents cannot take money from our public purse. Not knowing at the time she had already taken some for her family. How? They are sitting in judgment over other people that no, Article 71 doesn't allow that money be paid to spouses of president, vice president. Meanwhile, but then you are taking money for your spouse and children, a child. I mean, it's ridiculous. So this, let's not push it. The more you push it, the more ridiculous. And look, I have people sending me messages that viewers are very angry that, look, we are pushing this argument too far. We are pushing it too far. How can you say that a ban is showing you that in your conduct as Chief Justice, there are certain things you do which also affect your ethics as a Supreme Court judge? So you see how it's linked. It's a consolidated process. So if you come to the facts of this case, we have lost what? 367,000. Who asked that the money be paid for the tickets and for the spouse and for the daughter? This is not child's play. And let's nail the final fact. Look, millions of our citizens don't earn even 100,000 the whole year. And you have one family just blowing this in 2 weeks or less, and you think this is a child's play. Where? No, let me land. Where? So show me. Is that so? The constitutional matter is that. Can you show me there? Is it in the Wando report, or is it in the Rama Ade report or Green Street report, which says that when the Chief Justice is traveling, they should pay spouses per diem, pay children per diem? That's a very grave constitutional matter that people want to play politics is. Where in the various reports from Green Street on Ramadi, Buando, etc. Which of the reports say that you can pay the spouse of the Chief Justice any per diem? or pay the child of the Chief Justice any per diem. When in actual fact, the Chief Justice herself in the Abronye and then Dafia Mepo, those cases, had said that you can't do such a thing. So let's stop playing with this and then making very arid arguments that go and start afresh to remove her as a Supreme Court judge. When the Supreme Court itself is saying that the two are interlinked, it's a consolidated process. It's farcical, very, very farcical to say that we should go and start from scratch and remove it separate. That a bar says your ethics, things you do as a Chief Justice, also affect you as a Supreme Court judge. So it's one combined process. You are removed as a Chief Justice. You are also removed, ipso facto, as a Supreme Court judge. Let's not toy, because like as I say, viewers, the lay people are not having it easy. That some of these things, yes, I know there's devil's advocate, but please, when the law is clear, let's not do these arid arguments.
Okay, well, and let's do this quickly. We need to go for a quick break. And if you are seeing these bottles on the table, I just need to remind you that UGL Premier Fresh Natural Mineral Water is a premium product of UGL, the commercial subsidiary of the University of Ghana. Our water is sourced from natural springs in the Eyikuma Enclave, where we strive to maintain its most natural form. Through reverse osmosis purification technology, we preserve essential natural minerals while ensuring the water remains perfectly safe and healthy for drinking.
Do you need the water? Yes. And like we are all UG,
yeah? Yes.
So, okay. No University of Kumasi Legon here.
Don't cause trouble.
Yes. So you can from UG.
Call these numbers. Tell them that you heard me talk about it on KeyPoint. They will give you a special package that is the University of Ghana Premier Fresh Mineral Water, where purity meets refreshment. Call these numbers 056 181 4444, 056 181 4444, or 055 506 0150, 055 506 0150. They'll say an intervention you were making earlier in a minute. Where did you come across?
30 seconds. My 30 seconds is that.
But just finish.
Yes. But we all see that this provision that has been breached, the fact that the Constitution doesn't allow the judiciary, especially the Judicial Council, so that policy they made, whether official travels, etc., the committee is saying that that policy is illegal. So the Judicial Council needs to set up that the Judicial Council can set up a policy different from what under Article 71 it is drawn up. Do we get it? Let's repeat.
That I agree.
The committee is saying that the policy that the Judicial Council is set up, that our Chief Justices have abused over the years, it didn't start with Torkornoo. The previous ones have all breached it. The committee is saying that that policy is illegal. So it means that that policy is cancelled. We don't want to wake up tomorrow and hear that there is such another thing. Of course, if we think that there should be a policy that should allow spouses, they should table it and it will come out for public debate. But right now, the committee is saying that particular policy, and especially it's good for us to emphasize that Torkornoo is not the only one to have breached it. Previous Chief Justices have breached it, and there are records. So please, let this end. Let it end.
Please. One minute.
We've talked a lot, and we've lost some of our listeners because there's heavy law. But please, in all that is being said, it needs to be emphasized that we have written law, and the Constitution is the highest law of the land.
Okay.
Then we have people who can come to court and say, oh, my village needs water, so I took money from the construction to go and do the water. And then a judge agrees with you. All right, if that happens, you can say it is ratio, but then the judge will be wrong.
Okay.
The only test of that is whether the Constitution is written in such a way that the judge will know that what they said is wrong or not. And it can be ratio or orbiter.
Okay.
I said it's orbiter, it's orbiter. Ratio is what you just said. But let me state, Article 1462 makes it emphatic and says that a superior court of judicature or chairman of a regional tribunal, a justice of the superior court, including those people, may only be removed in accordance with procedures specified in this article.
Okay.
It says, wait, because of that, because of what you read from Modibo Kra & Co., if Modibo Kra says that something else can be done, it is worse than obiter. It is per incuria, which means it breaches the law.
Thank you.
Of Article 146.
Now you make your point.
So a quick
So let it go back and let them fix it.
But senior,
Now you make your
it is
point.
very
but senior, you would agree with me that in Frank Ajechu, one of the issues that came up had to do with the fact that, first of all, when it comes to the Chief Justice, there was no direct provision on prima facie determination for the CJ, correct?
Yes.
We are talking about...
Hold on, I'm coming.
Superior
No, I'm
Court
building a
justices.
point.
Yes.
Then the Supreme Court said, yes, we have identified this loophole, so let's fill in the gap, correct?
Fill in the gap, yeah.
And they fill in the gap by asking prima
There is no
facie.
loophole.
In the specific case of Chief Justice Torkornoo, was there not a prima facie? Yes.
Okay.
This is Superior
We're
Court.
back shortly after this quick break here on KeyPoints.
On
We're
that
also
time
live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London. Hold on. And the Voice of London television as well. And we'll go for a quick break. When we're back, we're getting some matters with the GBA. That's linked, by the way. I'm clothed this morning by Cobra Clothing. It's the best version of you. You can locate them on the Spring Test Road opposite the Allied Oil filling station for this outfit and many others that you see me wear every Saturday morning on KeyPoint. Call them on this number, 0244 238 341. 0244 238 341. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us. the Bar Association in good standing, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Do you agree with the sentiments of the Attorney General, or you side with your president? I'll start off with you.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, I mean, the Learning Attorney General has a point, because as Attorney General, he leads the pack of lawyers as well, even though we have the GBA president. And it is a good call in the right direction. And it's also factual that the GBA has been quiet on a number of matters in recent times, but found its voice in this particular matter. Again, even though it found its voice in this matter, does not negate the fact that even though, because the GBA deals with leadership, even though it is in continuum. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, probably past executives were not too vocal, but now this crop of leadership, they are beginning to put their weights in to make commentaries. Now, as to my point is whether or not commentaries made is objective and does not sway to give the optics a certain leaning or impression or a perception. It is that perceptive value that would influence the audience or the public about what the GBA is driving at or what they are purporting to do. And that is why the Learning Attorney General came in to say all of that. So, I mean, definitely we'll encourage the GBA, of which we are all members, but it more lies with the leadership to push the agenda of educating the public on legal matters, and just that we had seen in the past where GBA goes to court, to seek constitutional interventions, make a lot of legal inputs and advice. We see much more of this, and so it's a right call, and we also pray, like I said, that the GBA would have a more profound positioning in what to see as far as advising on legal matters.
I see. Alberto.
Absolutely right. The Attorney General was correct in what he said. Indeed, he echoed what a lot of us lawyers have been saying in the past. The GBA lost its voice, and in a very, very, untenable way, in times when really you needed them to speak up. So I totally agree with the AG, because all of us have said these things in the past. The point, however, has to be made that now is different. Now you have a different executive, and clearly you can see that they are charting a different course. Okay, personally, I can say that this is the best GBA executive in all my practice as a lawyer. People like, President Ifuagati, a woman of impeccable integrity. All right, you can say whatever you want to say about her, but you can see she's charting a different course, and I really wish them well. I have such confidence in this executive. But the point has to be made that in the recent past, the GBA has betrayed even us lawyers, because whether you like it or not, look at this panel today, it's all lawyers.
Indeed.
All right, you like it or not, lawyers will be called upon to speak on national issues, and by virtue of our training, we are better placed in a certain way. Lawyers call themselves learned, but they're the smartest people in town. Okay, I would prefer engineers any day to a lawyer, but it comes with a territory, that you have to do some of these things. So the GBA, being the kind of association it is of lawyers, should have been more forthcoming in times when we needed their voices to be speaking on some of these national, issues. And I think going forward, they should do so. I trust this present executive to chart a course that hopefully future executives will not depart from.
I do appreciate it for this. Lamati people, please.
Yeah, okay, so I largely agree with my colleagues, because the record will show that the GBA didn't speak up as often as we would have wanted them to do. And that especially, for, substantial parts of the reign of the Kufuor-Bawumia administration, right? Yeah, where we felt they totally lost their place in our society because they were quiet whilst the tyranny, most parts, whilst the tyranny and misgovernance was going on. So now people are, holding the GBA's feet to the fire. It's justified. Next time, they shouldn't lose that relevance. So it's good. It's good. It's good they are getting this feedback from the Attorney General and generally the bar, so that they will sit up, so that we will reduce the partisanship. Because at the point, it was very clear that, look, the GBA was too much in bed with the previous administration. They didn't hit hard. They hardly spoke. Then once in a while at the annual conference, then the president will give a speech, and that wasn't sufficient. Even though Mr. Ocansey were here asking for what? The asset declaration law. You wouldn't even see the GBA use in that platform. Asset declaration law, we know is one that affects our governance, political party financing. I mean, some low-hanging fruit, things that they could jump into the public debate and to make themselves relevant, right?
Yes.
And to better our society. They lost the opportunity. They left the fight to citizens alone.
Right. Let's
just for me, a quick one. The Ghana Bar Association is the only professional association with mentioning specifically in the Constitution. You do not see Ghana Medical Association and others. What it tells you is the respect that even the framers of the Constitution place in the GBA, and that particular respect requires that they be a bit more consistent and forthcoming. Like the learned Attorney General said, the GBA, they were in this country when Charlotte Osei was removed. She was removed under Article 146. Loretta Lamte was removed under Article 146, provision. Suddenly, it comes to the CJ and hell breaks loose. The GBA quite recently had a Congress where resolutions were passed, eventually trying to poo-poo the removal process among that. Immediately, the Ghana Bar Association engages in such conduct. It gives a semblance of selective advocacy.
Right.
And that selective advocacy undermines and destroys the voice that the GBA has. And that I will urge President Efuagate Mrs. that she must take this association to a different level.
Okay.
Look, President the last president, what's the name? Yabuafo didn't mind taking the previous administration on the issues of Galamsey and others.
Right.
That is the kind of advocacy. But where rehash MPP conversations are put on GBA platform, it makes it look partisan.
Thank you. You want to thank Media General? Thank you very much.
And Media General did a good job with the Ashanti thing. I mean, that was very good.
Indeed.
You could be in your office and watch what was going on in Kumasi.
Thank you all.
Thank
the kind
you.
words. Truly appreciate it. This UGF Premier Water will be on Monday at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, where we're having the 3FM Afro Connect. Indeed. Yes, at Nzima Elembele. Yes. Engineer Kanashigbe is there, and many others. Thank you so much. Do appreciate you. Have a great weekend. I am Alfred Ocansey.